Anton, welcome on in. Ashes for the win. Thank you for the donation, buddy. Tax, what's good? How's everybody doing? We'll get the camera going. Else, how you doing on your end?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good, pretty good.
Nice. Get it?
All right. I see what you did there. You've never done that joke before.
It just came to me.
All right, so we got a couple of topics to discuss. Really appreciate you guys being here. We had a really fun one last time. I think we got a lot of content, a lot of good talking points out of that last one. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, we have combed the forums, Reddit, and talked with each other on some interesting topics. So yeah, Panda, welcome on in. How did I get here? It's Tuesday. How you doing, buddy? All right, so we'll get the here, let me get my link posted in my Discord, and I think that's the last thing, and then I'll be good to go.
Sure. You want to do a little bit of ice breaking, or how was your weekend?
My weekend was good. Spent some time with the wife and just went out to eat. Finally had our first like kids-free weekend in a very long time, so it was actually really nice. How was yours, including today, actually? Maybe start with that.
So I did the same thing. We went on vacation for the first time since having the girls away from the girls, and we decided to go to Las Vegas. And I was gifted COVID, and so if my voice sounds a little hoarse, that's what it is. I'm doing fine. Just a little bit of sore throat, a little bit of chills. But I mean, that could be the Ashes of Creation content we're talking about. So, God, that was an awful pun. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna do I'm gonna do the best I can. But yeah, but no, things have been good. We had a good time as well. You know, just getting away from. It's good to have that time away. It's good to give Grandma and Grandpa that time with the kids. So,
yeah, sweet. So. We got a couple topics to discuss, and like I mentioned, and we're gonna start off with I'd say a pretty juicy one. Here, let me pull up our messages here, and go ahead and pull up that article, and make sure that chat can see this article.
Yep, I got mine up on my end.
Panda said, "I guess it doesn't stay in Vegas."
Yeah, no, they gave me a gift, so.
Yes, Ranger hype, Anton. Ranger hype. All right, so I'm going to make it so that you guys can see my screen. There we go. Perfect. That worked out perfect. So today, the first topic we would like to discuss, this is actually one that Else chose, Else found. It's titled AOC Isn't As Niche as Everyone Thinks. I'm going to let Else take the lead on this one.
Sure. So I thought this was fun because it was fun to think about perspective, considering there's an echo chamber on YouTube you often get into. And so this guy comes out, or girl, and he says, so here's my take. WoW, hardcore, extraction shooters, survival, classic WoW. We're definitely seeing a trend in what gamers want. Theme park, railroad content games are going the way of Guitar Hero. Blizzard saw so much success with classic and hardcore, they made them official. Survival games, some, if not most, have come with hardcore rule sets, dropping all gear, open PvP. Ark being one of the biggest had both of these. Now even Blizzard is jumping in, although I suspect it will be a watered down for everyone experience. Extraction shooters stemming from Tarkov's success, very hardcore style game, have started popping up everywhere. If I know one thing, it's when companies and investors start putting their money into it, you know the numbers are there in some fashion and they like what they see. All I hear from everyone, including Asmongold and other streamers, is this is a niche game and it's not for everyone. I'm guessing this is a misspelling, but he says, now while I don't disagree, I think the degree of which they are implying is overstated to the point that they think it might not be a very big game at all. While it certainly won't be COD, I also think its potential could be much higher than New World saw at its peak. Now that is a spicy take right there.
Yes.
Which would be considered a massive success. Yes, if it got as big as New World was at its peak, that would be a massive success. I understand that people don't want to get their hopes up, and there's a lot of cynical people, and deservedly so. But if I'm going to be real about it, the more I see, the better it gets. It's like going from a narcissistic relationship to a healthy one. Sometimes it just seems too good to be true, but that's more about your past relationship than your current one. Just like that, I think it's only fair we treat AOC and the devs with their fair shake. They have done nothing but be completely upfront and honest, and currently, in my eyes, have the most integrity I have seen in a while, and I have been around for a while. I played UO and EQ1 a lot.
Ultima Online and EverQuest 1.
Yes. There's a lot to look
Never
for.
seen those abbreviations, but I somehow just figured that out.
Nice. There's a lot to look forward to, and don't let your past disappointments ruin your experience. Judge it on its own merits. Don't buy into the cynical majority and copy-paste the copium quotes. I might be disappointed. That's definitely a possibility, but I am also okay with that. At least as far as I can tell, they are putting their best foot forward, and for now, that's enough. What are your thoughts, Nice?
Oh boy. All right, so there's a lot to pick apart with this one. I really like this one. So he's saying that AOC is no longer a niche thing as people were trying to make it out to be. He's saying this is a niche game and it's not for everyone, which is something, Steven himself has spoken on. I disagree with that. While I do think Ashes of Creation, I think it just being an MMO, and MMO probably not in the best spot they have been these days. I think Ashes will see a great success. I think a lot of people will flock to the Ashes of Creation on its release, but I still think that it's still going to be a niche game for its long-term population. I don't think everyone's going to be there for the long haul.
Sure.
I think this is I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, but now I wouldn't say it's like overly too far from mainstream. I think it's going to be a really big game, but as far as its target audience, we haven't seen a game in I don't know how long with these values, these core values, and they're not backing down because of certain consumers' complaints or anything like that. They're being very upfront. They're saying, hey, this is our vision. You're going to like it. Yes, there's WoW hardcore. Yes, there's these other things, but Ashes of Creation will have somewhat of a niche, in my opinion. And as far as his comment about, I also think its potential could be much higher than New World saw at its peak, which would be considered a massive success. I'm assuming he's talking launch numbers. I'm assuming he's talking launch numbers, which I imagine Ashes of Creation is going to blow that out the window.
You think so?
But I think it will. I think it will. Especially, remember, Ashes does not have a box cost, so I think even more so that could contribute to insane launch numbers. I don't think it'll be on Steam, but regardless, I think Ashes of Creation will shatter that New World record, or numbers, I should say.
So there is like you said, there is a lot to dissect in this, because like he's just got take after take after take.
Yes.
And I was reading this, and that's why I sent it to you. But yeah, I've never really gotten into like games like Tarkov and stuff like that. Like it's just never been my type of game. But I don't know much about the success of a lot of these games, right?
Yeah.
He brought up a lot of the ones that I know, and it's like, well, actually, that's a pretty good point. There are people that are clamoring for this, and you look at New World of their release numbers. What was it? It was 100,000 people watching on Twitch, like the first couple of weeks. Was it something like that?
I think even more than that.
Okay.
I know their peak concurrent, because I look at New World Steam charts all the time. It's like 978,000 was like their peak. Like I think that's the highest amount of people. And New World's only on Steam, so it's easy to track. So, but yeah,
Sure.
something like that.
Okay. And so yeah, actually, your point of bringing up, it's a monthly subscription. I think you're right. And the thing is the only thing that held New World back from continuing that, at least at a decent level, was New World itself. Like New World stopped New World from having those numbers for longer. I think there's enough of a core MMO base that's willing to try anything that will work. And if Ashes comes out and it works, which is a very low requirement, I could see that for sure.
Yeah. I want to dissect even more of this. I'm going to take some comments here in chat, and then I think you could do the same. For one person, Excessive Dreamer asks, Ashes of Creation worth it for the long-time ESO player? I think so. As you know, Else and I are ESO players, and I think To say that we're excited for it's an understatement. I mean, look at us
Correct.
right now. So yes, I think any MMO player for the most part, no matter what your style or preference is, I think this is. I personally, I mean, say what you want. I personally call Ashes of Creation the savior of the genre. If they even deliver on 70% of what they're saying, or and something I like to reiterate all the time is that Ashes of Creation isn't looking to launch and then build up kind of what you see with New World doing, like trying to do damage control. Ashes of Creation is looking to compete with other MMOs right from the start, like right from the jump. They want to have enough content. They want to have enough gameplay. They want to have enough to compete with the current market. And I think that's something people don't really pay attention to. Um, Somebody else says, just look at how successful Elden Ring has been. Dark Souls was successful, but niche. Now the genre is refined and succeeding. Ashes is a refinement of the difficult MMO genre. People want something with more substance. Very well said, Panda. I actually did a video. Yeah, I love that. I actually did a video called "The Elden Ring of MMOs," speaking of Ashes of Creation and the comparisons and everything like that. How it is basically emphasizing that it is a niche. Like, here are the similarities. This is not going to hold your hand. It's a different thing. Like, this is going to be a and I guess that kind of brings me to what he was saying earlier with WoW hardcore extraction shooters and stuff like that. But yeah. And King Louis says that's an insane take, not on Steam while getting bigger numbers than New World. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, you won't be able to track them on Steam charts, but I think, like I said earlier, I think Ashes not having a box cost for one and just having a monthly subscription, people just being able to, like, imagine if a new MMO came out of nowhere, no publicity, no marketing, pulled like a Beyonce video album, excuse me, a Beyonce album just dropped out of nowhere with no marketing. If that came out today and they said, hey, it's only $10 a month, $15 a month to try, that's going to bring more people in just because of the cost alone, much less the hype.
I agree
So
with that.
yes, I think with New World and Amazon, yes, they have the big Amazon corporate CEO, you know, they got the money, long story short. And I think Ashes will blow that out the water, especially, you know, if they vamp up their marketing and everything like that. I think, not to mention the better quality and higher expectations, that alone combined with no box cost, I think it will. I don't think that's an insane take. I think it will surpass New World numbers. I don't think New World's numbers are going to be super hard to beat with the MMO launch these days. I think even Throne of Liberty being as crap as it is, if it was to refine some things and release, I don't know, 6 months from now, I think the next MMO launch is going to be big. I think the next MMO launch is going to be big.
I agree with that. I'm gonna take a nerdy tangent here because yeah, I think it does apply to the situation. And nice, you and I have talked about this a lot, but I really like professional sports. I really like professional basketball and I like professional football, the NFL and the NBA. And one of my favorite things to do, because I'm a nerd for this stuff, is I like to look and see what smart front offices are doing, you know, when they have a good draft and when they sign key free agents for a cheap amount of money, you know, like a certain Kansas City Chiefs team this last year where they go out and, you know, they trade Tyreek Hill and they, you know, were able to replace him because they have, you know, the greatest offensive head coach of all time, and they get Juju and, you know, the 7th round rookie running back and like these sorts of things, right? And Philly was it. So you see all these things, you see it on paper before the success even happens oftentimes. And I think in games with development teams, you can draw cross similarities to how teams function. And so with the way Ashes is so candid and out in the open with what they're developing, willing to take feedback, willing to adjust, reiterate things that we've seen so far. And yes, it may change. Like Alpha 2 hasn't come out yet and everything, but I have seen nothing that would lead me to believe that this game won't be a success as it stands right now. Like there's no questions, you know, coming from another MMO like the one we play, where the development team clearly just doesn't listen to the players. It's a breath of fresh air to see this development team do that and work in the open and work clearly and iterate and answer questions. So,
I agree. They've established a lot of faith, I think, from their community, like a real good job, and that ties into that open development, like you said. It's just we're not used to it. Actually, I think that guy said something about that in here. I'm trying to find it. He said something about he said it's only fair we treat AOC and the devs with their fair shake. They have been nothing but completely upfront and honest, and currently in my eyes the most integrity I've seen in a while, and I have been around a while. Me and you, I don't think we need to go on another tangent just trashing the Elder Scrolls Online, because I think we can spend the rest of the stream doing that, though we love the game. But I think me and you both could probably start a second podcast where we just talk about the Elder Scrolls Online and how everything was right there for them. They have all the pieces, and they, as developers and decision makers, they just keep dropping the ball, or some stuff is really obvious, some things you want fixed. Not even talking about performance, like, you know, the game working. I think me and you just patches, skill changes, updates, and stuff like that. You're just like, why didn't you get feedback on it? Or who is this for? Who asked for this change? And what is the point of this? And stuff like that. That's because they're not open. They're just like, oh, here's your patch notes. We did this. We did. Oh, okay. And not that you got to listen to your community on everything, but there's a huge, and I know Ashes is still in development while the Elder Scrolls Online is a live service still ongoing. It's a little different in that sense, right? But I think we've seen more communication from the from Intrepid's development team and everything like that than we've seen with games that actually exist. I hope that's not a far cry, but I really think we've seen, I just think they have an amazing team. Like Margaret, everybody in marketing, their social media, like their Discord, like how interactive they are. Hell, even Steven, dude's a freaking CEO or whatever. You can like catch him in Discord occasionally or replying to people on social media.
He randomly jumped in a podcast 2 weeks ago because he liked the discussion. And he decided
exactly.
Like what?
Exactly.
Like I don't want to. Yeah, I'm not going to hammer other games. I just want to state two things. Last year in November, the development team for Elder Scrolls Online met with the stream team members to talk about how they could open up communication. Like that's, I mean, I think that's about, we don't have to go any farther than that. Like it got so bad that last year they're like, hey, what do we have to do? And yeah, right. And you don't see that. You don't see that with this game. And I'm not saying like this doesn't mean that every single player that looks at Ashes, it's going to be, you know, they're going to get feedback from the development team and the game's going to be perfectly for them. But they're very clear as to what they're building. And when they aren't clear, Steven and the team will come out and they'll write an entire article on what the freeholds are and clear up questions, you know, and they'll hop on a podcast and clear up more questions. And that is very refreshing to see.
Yeah, that's stuff that I could say it 30 more times, but we're just not used to this. Like we're just not used to this open development. And the open development is like, that's why I did a video a little while back when Throne of Liberty kind of hit I'll say disappointed people is the best way to say it. And then Steven said something in Discord. I'm just like, he said something and it maybe just it inspired a whole video. But he said something along the lines of what is it? Good marketing and trailers is no substitute for good gameplay. Something like 100%. That. Something to that extent. And I'm just like, man, like he understands that. Like, Ashes of Creation, they do these monthly streams saying, hey, here's our progress. There's no fancy trailers. And me and you talked about it last stream, how Throne of Liberty fooled the hell out of a lot of us just off their cool trailers. Like, it didn't like say, oh, this is for sure going to be a great game. But it was like, oh, that looks cool. If the gameplay even somewhat imitates that or is close to that, then we're in for a good ride. But in those trailers, I watched them as recently again as like last week, and those trailers look so cool. I want to play that game. Yeah. But we got the advantage with Ashes of Creation where people can nitpick whether it's the graphics or the combat or I feel things should be this way and blah blah blah. This animation, this. At least you're getting to see the gameplay. Like you're seeing the raw game in an unfinished state at that. So I think that's something worth applause.
Yeah, I completely agree. I completely agree with that. And I think this is the same reason like I wanted to try New World is the development team I'd followed the game since launch and it was bad. And then it got a lot better and they were making good improvements. And then the spring that like all their combat improvements were so good. Like the game was in a bad spot but they made such good combat improvements. I was like, okay, all right, this is in the right direction. Like, I'm not saying the game is great or anything, but it's heading in the right direction. And that's important. And yeah, there's a lot from now until Ashes releases before like lots of things can happen. But as it stands right now, like if they keep doing what they're doing, I don't see any reason why they couldn't be an instant hit with players.
Agreed. I'll finish dissecting this forum post here. As far as WoW hardcore, like you're seeing this with WoW hardcore, you're seeing this with Diablo hardcore. People. I wouldn't say. Here's the thing. Here's the reason I still say AOC could somewhat still be viewed as niche, because not everyone's into that. Not everyone's into that full loot or high risk, high reward kind of playstyle. Some people hate the thought of getting supposedly grieved in AOC, even if they have misinformation with the corruption system. They just hate the idea that someone has the option, so to speak, to do that. So that's why I still say no matter what, it's going to be niche. You have some people that play MMOs right now just for crafting and housing. They don't even want, if their node gets sieged, there's some people that will need to be told like, hey, I don't care if you're not a great PvPer, you need to come help defend this node, or else that freehold you hold so valuable to yourself, it's gonna go. And that's why I still feel Ashes Creation could still be looked at as a niche. Yes, difficulty is becoming more popular. I love that for gaming. It's why I loved Elden Ring. It was the first time in a long time I played PvE, and loved that I was being challenged, loved that I was dying in the video game, loved that it was a difficulty spike and I had to, struggle for a bit and overcome something. Because I'll say this again, the more difficult something is, the better it feels when you accomplish it. Like if everything's handed to you, like, oh yeah, I beat the game, but it's like, do you get the same satisfaction when you beat an Elden Ring boss as when you fight an ESO Overland boss? There's different levels of difficulty and different levels of satisfaction as a result of that difficulty is probably the best way to say that.
Yeah, and you see that bleed over into other aspects of life, like Navy SEALs take great pride in being Navy SEALs because going through SEAL training is hard as shit, and only the best of the best can be called that. And so I forget what study it was. I'm not going to try and cite a study right now, but it was basically stating like your loyalty to a thing often hinges on how difficult it was to acquire or beat said thing. And so the harder it is to do something, the more inclined you are to value that thing more. And yeah, we see that with other games all the time. Like, the first time I beat Maelstrom Mariner, I was fucking proud, man, because it took me 10 hours. It took me 10 hours. I couldn't save the game. Like I had to do it all the way through or else I wasn't getting it. First time I got Flawless Conqueror, like I did a little dance in my room. I was like, holy shit, like I fucking I got Flawless Conqueror on this shit. That's awesome. And so yeah, it's like those, and that was like 6 years ago and I'm still, smiling about it. So
yeah, you felt accomplished, like that's good. Like that's the feeling a game should give you. And I mean, for some people, I guess we got to acknowledge that for some people, their level, I guess that's just humans in life, people are people are at different levels of where what it takes to satisfy them.
Yes.
And I think there's some person that, they kind of want everything handed to them, whether they cite them being busy or maybe they're used to a game where everything was handed to them. They're going to play Ashes of Creation. They're probably going to get turned off after a little while. It's going to happen. And that's why I think it's going to retain that niche category. Do I think it'll be a mainstream MMO eventually, or come launch? I think a lot of people will try it, like I said earlier, but I do think as far as the player retention, as far as that core audience, people are going to have to adapt, and maybe eventually it's not going to be looked at as a niche. I don't know. I guess you could look at it both ways, but in my opinion, it's still a and when I say niche, by the way, I don't mean like it's not going to do numbers. Like I said earlier, I think it's going to do numbers, but their audience, their target audience, a lot of people are going to have to adjust. Hell, I saw a lot of people play Elden Ring. Like Elden Ring was my first FromSoft game, actually, and a lot of people that weren't used to that were really frustrated. But a lot of people, they jumped in joy at, wow, like this is difficult, but I like it. I didn't know I'd like something like this. So yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I think a lot of MMO players and gamers in general, they like something because they want to hold on to the nostalgia of what a previous game was. But if something is fun and something is unique and it's different and it captures you, like it just doesn't matter what it is. Like, I mean, look at games like Fortnite. When Fortnite came out, it was so unique at the time, and it's literally captured an entire generation. The same way WoW was. Like these sorts of games have a way of going through time, and like if you said, oh yeah, this game has like cartoon graphics and you can wear jerseys of football teams or you can be a spaceman. Like if you try to
funny dances.
Yeah, and you try to explain what Fortnite was like 2 years before it came out, I bet just about nobody would say that they would want to play that. But it was fun for a lot of people. So
yeah, like on paper, and even after Fortnite released, you look like, oh, that's just one of those kids games, you know. Like then people seeing how you can actually get skilled at it with how you build, you know, those 3-story houses with Wi-Fi and everything like that, and get good aim, and like, oh, okay, there's a difficulty curve here.
Yeah.
So I got the next category here.
Okay.
Next forum, I think it was a forum post, right? Yes, this is a forum post. I think I got 2 forum posts from this guy. Else found this one. Oh, this one. I remember this one now. Okay. Thoughts on this month's live stream. So for oh, by the way, little off tangent here. Thank you to each of you in our chats. Is there no one else's chat? My chat. We see all you guys' comments. We'll occasionally read some of them out. You guys, I'm looking at all these comments. You guys are actually got a lot of nice takes here. But yeah. Else, did you want to stop with read something from chat before I go forward, or?
I don't have a ton of chat about the game. I will say that you probably can't let Panda comment anymore, or else he's going to outdo us. So
yeah, at this point, Panda just got to get on the podcast, I guess.
No, I have no comments that can be brought forward to this discussion right now. So yeah, we can go on to the next thing.
Okay. So this one is intriguing. I'll go ahead and, how long is it? Can I just read it? Yeah, I can read the whole thing. Yeah. So thoughts on this month's live stream. So if you guys aren't aware, the showcase for this month was nodes. Now we had freeholds last month, which was a big stream in my opinion, because that lets you know the progress of the game. I think the biggest things to see before launch was freeholds, nodes, and the other thing was the corruption system in play. That was my big 3 things to let me know, like, okay, where are we? How ready to ship is this? And so when they did freeholds, and then in that stream, they announced that, well, after that, they announced that nodes was upcoming. I'm like, oh, wow. Yeah. Like, I was not expecting nodes this year, maybe late this year, but there's no way I was expecting nodes in July. So when they said that, I was like, oh, okay, we're looking at an Alpha 2 announcement soon. They're showing nodes. Like, that's the core thing about this game. That's what makes this game really unique. And that was just impressive to me. But they did say there's a chance for it not to be this month. So it's not like they, you know, they gave us a warning like, hey, it may not be this month. So,
yes.
Yeah. And I'm kind of rambling here, but I kind of just want to keep talking about nodes. But I was excited for the node stream. I'm not like sad or disappointed we're not getting a node stream. I'm actually more excited that the node stream is delayed, because it lets me know how serious Intrepid takes this. They know that nodes is the core thing that makes their game unique. Yes. A lot of things do, but nodes are the thing. And if they're pushing this back a month, or hey, it might be a couple of months, we don't know at this point. But if they're pushing this back, I mean, that means they got something big planned. They know that, you know, we're hardcore followers of Ashes of Creation. We're all going to watch every monthly live stream. We're going to see every Discord message, every tweet with a little tidbit of news that maybe we didn't know already. But you got to remember, there's casual followers or people that drop in every 3 to 6 months. And I think they know that this node stream is going to be picked up by everybody. I think they know, 100%. Like, I think that marketing team knows, like, this is the one. Like, this is the hype builder. This is our chance. You get one shot at it. You get one shot at getting this right. And so I'm actually more hyped that they pushed it back. And if it's not even next month, if it's the month after that, I'm still going to be happy, because I know that's going to be an amazing stream. Fox said, if the node system showcase goes wrong, it could hurt how people see the game. Exactly. They get
100%.
one shot at it.
So since we're talking about nodes, do you just want to talk about it a bit now for those that don't know fully what the node system is? Just like a brief.
Yeah. So the node system is essentially what makes Ashes of Creation to me. I'm not going to just read off the wiki, although I'm kind of tempted to. But there's different node types. You got different node stages. So
nodes are villages, cities.
Yes, exactly. Villages, cities, and then it just keeps going up to a metropolis. And yes, it will be their most important stream ever. Correct, John. So when you start off in Ashes of Creation, the world is almost barren, and wherever you make do that XP, do those quests, basically nodes are going to form at various spots. It's going to be different on each server. You never know which node forms on which server. But anyways, that is such a key component to Ashes of Creation, and then you have vassal nodes, and we can get really geeky with this, but the node system is what makes Ashes of Creation Ashes of Creation. And what really interests me and what I was looking forward to the node stream for is nodes types. Matter of fact, you know what? Is there no nodes? It might be fun to watch nodes 1 and nodes 2. There's this infamous joke that, because they never did nodes 3, and, it was supposed to be this ongoing series and they kind of just took a break. Nodes 1 and nodes 2, maybe at some point, maybe me and you can share screens so we kind of watch it at the same time.
Sure.
We'll figure that out. Let's maybe put a button in that and kind of do that towards the end of stream, maybe.
Yeah.
But or we, maybe push it to the next one. We'll see. But I think those videos are almost as inspirational as the Kickstarter video.
Yes.
Nodes 1 and Nodes 2 just had me excited, like really, really excited. But anyways, I got sidetracked. What I was gonna say is the most important thing. Hold on. You take over, else my daughter's here.
Yeah, so like we said, the node system is villages, cities, and everything, and it builds up. And how they build and how you can do different types of nodes. You can have a more militaristic one. You can have a more democratic one where you vote people in to be the mayor and everything. There's different ways to go about doing these things. And also, depending on where they pop up, you will have different world quests that will pop up on the map. And so they showed in the Kickstarter, I just watched it earlier today because I was, it's the first one that came to my mind. But they're talking about how, if you're at the base of, if the node pops up at the base of a mountain and you start building your metropolis and you dig too deep, a world boss dragon can come out and start tearing apart your node. And so it's the entire system is a way to get your skin in the game as far as playing. And so if you're invested in the node and you're dropping resources off to help it build so that you can be more prosperous in the game, and all of a sudden it gets attacked by a friggin' dragon, you're going to want to defend it. You're going to want to go and fight this dragon. If other people see you having success and they want to loot your node, they're going to want to attack your node. And so the entire system, really the core function of how a lot of game interactions and in-game politics is going to function around the node system. And that's why it's so big. That's why NICE is hyping it up, and why we're talking about it now is because this is the thing. This is the thing that's so much different than everything else in every other MMO that we've seen. So go ahead, NICE.
I was just gonna say before I left, for me, it's the node types, how different each node is. They might have different kinds of NPCs. It's just not a predetermined town, every MMO that I played, I think probably every MMO in history, because no one's done something like this. Those towns are predetermined. Those towns, that's where they are. You can do a video guide on where a town is on this MMO, where certain NPCs are, et cetera, et cetera. This game, it's going to be so different. None of that is predetermined. There's no town called, what's it right? I'll use ESL one because that's most familiar. Grotwood, that town is right there. Everyone that plays it, I don't care what platform, that town is right there. Nodes are going to be so unique. And then there's node types. And that's the part that excites me the most. Scientific nodes, economic nodes. And the one that I want the most information on is the military nodes. I think
Same.
that's the PvP node. And if you're not aware, military nodes have like a interesting thing. We haven't heard much on it, and actually, I think it's been quite a while we've gotten confirmation or any information on it. But military nodes, if I remember correctly, they're like one via combat. Like you don't, mayor isn't just like a democratic process. Like, oh yeah, let's, this guy can be the mayor. You fight for it. It reminds me of like a gladiator style, like that old school Roman Colosseum. I don't know. Just like I just think that's so cool. Like, and I got so many questions. How's it gonna be? Is it gonna be a tournament? What do you call it? A tournament style? Is it gonna be? Are they gonna like do a battle royale in an area? Like, it's just I got so many questions on how that would even work.
Yep.
It seemed like it would be a very intricate system.
Yeah, I'm most excited for that one too. I completely agree. And yeah, that's we're hyping up the nodes thing that's coming out next month, maybe. But yeah, I completely agree. It's going to be huge, and I'm glad they're taking the time to make sure like they understand the gravity of how big it's going to be. So
Yeah, so I'm hoping it's next month, but if it's not, I'll understand completely because I mean, I was not expecting nodes anytime soon. I don't think no one was. So, something else that I want to see personally from the nodes showcase, I want to see. I think I talked about this last stream, but I want to see apartment housing. We saw the freehold housing,
yeah,
but I hope they do a good showcase of end node housing or apartment instance based housing to where they show like, hey, don't whine too much about not probably get a freehold. Like, hey, here's housing, here's what you can do. This is not the freeholds aren't the only thing. Here's all the stuff you can do with your housing, and I think that'll be really good to kind of ease a lot of the community. Um, I guess we'll go on with this article. Um, So, but yeah, that's pretty much what I was saying. They delayed the node stream for the cleric stream, so we're gonna get a cleric stream this month. Now, we previously saw the day and night cycle stream, and that was about I want to say 7 months ago.
yes,
That wasn't a cleric showcase, just like the melee showcase wasn't a fighter showcase. The ranged weapon showcase wasn't a ranger showcase. We've only had dedicated showcases for the tank, sorcerer. That's it, right? Are those the only two? If am I forgetting one? I don't think so. Yeah, I think those are the only
I
two
think
with a
that's it.
dedicated showcase.
Yeah,
Um, he said, I think they messed up showing freeholds first instead of apartment housing. I wouldn't say messed up, but yeah, I get what you're saying. I think they did what they could. I think showing freeholds first probably was a good thing to get people hype. It's something people have been wanting a lot of clarity on and wanting to see. And I think they did a good job of mentioning. I'm pretty sure they mentioned it in stream and on Discord, but maybe they didn't mention it in stream. But there's other forms of housing. I'm pretty sure they did though. But they mentioned there's other forms of housing. But if you're gonna show freeholds and hype it during that stream, I think it would be important to show end node housing. But I could understand that okay, that's probably not ready. Then they'd have to walk their characters to another node. But maybe that would have been something worth putting in the slideshow if they didn't. My memory's not there right now, but I totally get that. 4 types of housing, yeah. They showed ranger skills, yes. So the ranged weapon showcase showed about 3 or 4 ranger skills, just like the fighter showcase. Actually, I think they really only showed like 2 skills in the fighter showcase. There was that whirlwind with the great sword, the dual wield. I don't know if that was just a weapon.
oh, they did the
string.
tank. They did the tank reveal.
Tank reveal. Did I say tank?
I don't.
Yeah, they.
I don't.
Yeah, tank and mage was I think the only dedicated showcases we've had.
Yeah.
The hammer. Oh yeah, the hammer smash. He's been using that in a couple of streams where he's got like the yellow weapon
Yes.
formed. That ability. So yeah, they showed the ranger skills, which by the way, I'm leaning towards playing a ranger. I'm not gonna get stuck with like we did on New World, or I did on New World, just being pure melee and everyone's outranging me. I like the ranger, and I think I like it because I like the ranger on Guild Wars too.
Sure.
But that one ability that the ranger has is just the best skill I think I've probably
To
seen
jump
in the
over
MMO.
people and shoot down.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Oh my gosh, why can't I think of the name right now? Barrage, no. What was the name of that ability? Um Airstrike. It's called Airstrike, I'm pretty sure.
Sure.
Airstrike. Rogue is what you're waiting for. Yeah, the Rogue is good. Rogue is a
Me
popular
too.
class.
Me too.
Assassin, yeah, that good old Nightblade, Shadow vibes, yeah. Um, but yeah, Rogue Ranger. I think that's gonna be a very popular combination. So, thoughts on this month's live stream? Okay, so this guy says, as someone that is interested in playing cleric, I'm really excited to see what is coming. However, I am not so thrilled about another month being used on something we've borderline seen. Given the feedback on the last cleric showcase, I would be very interested to see the changes they have made to cleric and healing gameplay in general. However, I don't think this warrants an entire stream. Steven has stated Alpha 2 was not years away. This implies that Alpha 2 will release at some point next year, hopefully quarter 1. But with the current live streams as good as they are, and as much as I appreciate the open and development, it worries me a bit how much the core game we have yet to see. Will these all need their own live streams? Oh, I kind of just want to stop at that paragraph, but I'm gonna keep going.
Okay.
We'll just attack this in parts. Not including the cleric, we have 3 other classes to preview. Oof, I'm gonna read that again. Not including the cleric, we have 3 other classes to preview. Given one is stated it won't be available at launch of Alpha 2, but still very possible. We see a template on stream pre-launch. We also have nodes, naval content, crafting, and most people want to see a real combat update. And that's just to name a few. I'm curious if all these will need their own month streams or if we just see them firsthand during Alpha 2. I would guess the monthly updates will change a little bit during Alpha 2 and they will be addressing bugs and other fixes. Either way, I'm happy to see the progress they have made with the cleric, even if it's not really what I think we need to see. What do you think about seeing the cleric again? What would you like to see in the future? Also, could someone more knowledgeable than me tell me, will the cleric showcase be set in a new biome or area or something that we have already seen? Enjoy your weekend. Wow. That's a post. Good find. Wow. I got a lot for that one. I got a lot for that one. Do you want to go?
Let's break down the first paragraph. And so he says, will these all need their own live stream? And I think in the past, I'm pretty sure in the past, Steven has come out and said that he wants to leave as much of the game open for exploration in game as possible. So I don't think all these things will need their own reveal. That's me personally. I do think they do need to discuss combat. They need to go through combat and stuff. And so to see what did Steven say it was 18 different cleric skills that they're going to show in the live stream on Friday is going to be really nice. And when he says that there's 4 other classes that are similarly built out and they're just waiting for, visual effects and everything, it's good to know, like, hey, we have 4 other classes that are almost as far as this one. And so I think it's good to see. And he kind of like double dips here saying like, oh, we want to see a combat update. Well, looking at looking at cleric skills, like that is some combat, like seeing what the skills are, seeing what the skills do. Obviously the numbers are going to be different and everything, but this will be like the first time we've seen a fully fleshed out skill set from an archetype. So I think it's big. But yeah, what do you think?
So I think it's once again important to iterate. Like we all understand, the day and night cycle stream was not meant to be a cleric showcase like we discussed. But I'm okay with them revisiting the cleric to show it fleshed out. I just think it's a little, I'm trying to choose my words carefully. I think it's weird. And here's why. I just find it weird, and I know the reasoning because we know that the fighter and the ranger and those 2 VFX are not fleshed out. So I mean, there's really no decision to be made there. Just show the cleric. I've been waiting so long to see the fighter like really fleshed out. Like those 2 streams, the melee combat showcase and the ranged weapon showcase, are probably my favorite streams, and it had the least class detail. But they did a good job of getting me excited to see like, oh wow, I wonder what the rest of the kit is like. And so in my brain when I'm like thinking like, okay, we got how long to Alpha 2? That's this many streams. They still need to cover crafting. They still need to cover this. I just knew that the fighter would be revisited or the ranger would be revisited before the cleric was, because we've seen the cleric later.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to see the rest of the cleric's archetype skill. And honestly, it's probably more important to show the cleric because I mean it's the healer. It's the healer. And people, especially those that play support and want to play a healer, it's gonna be very important to see that kit, see how healing gameplay is. We saw a little bit of the healing kind of gameplay in the mage showcase when they were swapping through characters, but I think it's important. His comments of saying, however, I don't think this warrants an entire live stream. I get his sentiment there. Though I do feel every archetype should have their own live stream. I think that's I think if they do it, which they will be doing it like they did the mage showcase, which I think we can all say that was like bravo. The mage showcase was done perfect. You didn't leave that stream with any questions on how a mage is gonna play in Ashes of Creation.
Yeah.
I think if they do that for the cleric, a lot of people are gonna be happy. I think a lot of people are gonna be happy. Like that was an amazingly detailed showcase, and I hope they do it again. I do get where he's coming from though. And I got a hot take on the cleric and all that, but I'll save that for later because I think it'll be relevant to another forum post that we have. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I disagree. I think it's okay, but I do think the timing's off. But we kind of know why. It's because the fighter and the ranger aren't fully ready. So I think that's more than understandable.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just going to quick quote something Steven said a few days ago. And why I'm okay with the cleric, but he was responding to somebody and he said, no, the mage, fighter, tank, and ranger are all similarly developed but waiting for love from visual effects and sound effects. And so it's nice, like even if they don't show those, I hope they do. I really hope they do reveals for all of them. But if they don't, it's nice knowing that 5 of the 8 archetypes are very similarly close in development to where the cleric is. Like,
yes,
you know, and so when we see it, we're like, wow, these other ones are going to be the same way. And so that's what kind of gets me excited is like knowing their progress. Like they're over halfway done with the archetypes that far, you know, like they still have the rogue to do, like you said. What are the other ones? The bard, the summoner. I think those are the 3. So
yeah.
So yeah, and then he said that, and he said, yes, you last saw the cleric. There's about 6 class abilities shown. This showcase will show off closer to 18. We'll see how far visual effects has made it with the kit by next week. Visual effects and sound effects are the ends of the ability creation pipeline. So yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention that. But yeah, cleric isn't the one that I'm jumping to right away, and so like the selfish part of me wants them like, hey, show my class, you know?
Yeah, I feel that.
But yeah, I'm also excited because I've played Templar on ESO. I've enjoyed Templar and I've had fun with it. So it'll be fun to see what the cleric is and what its kit's gonna look like and how like the player fantasy is very important. And so I hope they do it justice.
Yes, I think cleric is gonna be a very, very popular secondary archetype choice.
I think so too.
Especially because the necromancer, everyone is probably going to want to do necromancer simply because of the name necromancer, which is summoner cleric.
Yeah.
So I could see that happening. But the ability to heal yourself, we both know, like the ability to heal yourself. I mean, if you can augment certain abilities with holy magic to heal yourself, like come on, like that's just phenomenal. We'll see how augments and all that plays out. But yeah. I also, before we go to the next paragraph, wanted to address his last sentence there. Will these need their own live stream? I do agree that they could do a good cleric showcase while also showcasing something else. It could be something small. It can't be something as big as like crafting or nodes or something like that. But at the same time, I feel like if they did that, that wouldn't be fair to cleric mains, when the mage got its own full showcase. So I don't think there's a way to make everyone happy. I think we just need to be satisfied that we're seeing the cleric, and I think they're going to do a good job if they do it like the mage showcase. So yeah, and yes, the summoner will not be available for Alpha 2, which sucks. I kind of wanted to see what they're doing with summoner. I'm excited because of what the combat dev said in the December live stream with they're trying to do basically they want to do something different with Summoner. They don't want your pet just out there. You summon it and then boom, it's just out there, you know?
Yeah.
I think they're gonna go with temporary summons. I did a whole video on that, like just the possibilities that you can do. Like I want to see something like, you know, ESO Blast Bones. You summon something temporarily and it does a cool effect. Stuff like that I think is more interactive than like let's say ESO Smacksork where you just have those two pets and you know, well, they're out there now. I think a combination of both is good, though. What up, Genkenstein? Welcome on in. So going to the second paragraph, what was he saying here? Still see a template. We have no. Yeah. So yes, okay. Yeah. As far as how many monthly updates is left, will they all need their own month's live stream? I think honestly they will. And like El said, you know, closer to how do I say this? Like closer to Alpha 2, they'll probably change some things or vamp things up. Naval content that deserves its own stream. The Open Seas deserves its own stream. That's gonna be one stream for sure if they finish it before Alpha 2, which I think he addressed if naval content was gonna be ready. I can't remember. I know that was answered though. But Kraken's obviously gonna need its own a real combat update. I think the melee and range weapon showcase kind of took care of that. Although I could see them doing a real quote unquote combat update closer to Alpha 2 once they solidified some things. Remember, they still don't have a stamina bar implemented, which they want to implement at some point, or if they don't, or they might just use the mana bar for dodge roll and or block. So I think we'll just continue down this road of live streams. The Rogue will obviously get its own live stream. So if we just count out what still needs to be a stream, we got crafting, we got Rogue, we got Bard. We won't be seeing Summoner. That's 3 right there. And you never know what random bonus stream that we didn't see coming is going to happen. Like, hell, I didn't even see nodes coming, but I knew obviously that's something that had to be discussed before Alpha 2. There's a lot of things that they could still show us, I feel, but I don't know.
I got a question, and just something I'm spitballing right now. Do you think combat needs to be shown before Alpha 2, or combat can be shown during Alpha 2?
Definitely before. Definitely before. Weird thing, because technically, yeah, we are seeing combat in action, and I'm kind of on the fence here, and I know it, but I think they did enough with the melee showcase and range showcase to show you how the game functions. And plus, you get to see combat when they showcase in each class. I don't think it needs a full stream, but they do need to talk about it. I don't know if they can do it with in conjunction with something else, but I think that's going to be more so. You know what? I'm gonna change my answer. Else, I'm gonna change my answer as I convinced myself. No, they don't. I'm gonna say no, they don't. I'm gonna say no, they don't because that's a lot of what we will be testing in Alpha 2.
Yeah.
So if you combine that, we're going to be testing stuff like, okay, does block need to cost mana? Does it need a stamina bar? If you combine the fact that they've done a melee showcase, and if you combine the fact that they've done a ranged weapon showcase, and that they're showing combat while they're showcasing classes, yeah, I'm going to say no, actually. I'm going to say no, actually, now that I'm really actually pondering it.
Yeah, my theory when I said it out loud was like, okay, they have already talked about like needing feedback from the community about all these different things. And so part of me is like, would it be even worth doing a combat reveal beforehand, knowing that so many things would be subject to change during Alpha 2, potentially? Like you said, stamina bar. Like how is block going to work, you know, mathematically, or how are they going to figure that out? And
yes.
And yeah, I think that I don't think you necessarily need combat before Alpha 2, but it should happen during. But I do agree with you that I would like to see the classes. I would like to see the node system. I would like to see like the economy, and obviously like naval. Like I want to see how the high seas are going to work. So
yes, that's a big one, especially because the open seas is like an always PvP non-corruption zone. That I can't wait to see what they do with naval content. I may become a full-time pirate. Don't even know it right now,
dude. Yeah, it's definitely crossing my mind.
Somebody in the chat said something. Oh yeah, Clippin says, seems difficult to do trying to show something like PvP this early. Seems hard when Alpha 2 can address balance issues on a large scale. Yeah, I don't think, and that's a great segue kind of as far as what PvP we will see. We haven't seen player versus player interaction at all, which I don't expect to see it no time soon. I don't think we would get anything from seeing it right now anyway, because so much is left in the air, like the amount of damage something do. I'm afraid that if they show an example of a duel or PvP, and by the way, I need to ask the question on the video or in the forums, like, are they gonna have group duels? We talked about that last time. I keep forgetting to like ponder or ask around. Like, does anybody know if they got group duels?
Yes,
but anyways,
they should do group duels, please.
Please do group duels, please. But I think if they showed a cleric fighting a ranger and the ranger lost, it's just going to be this permanent narrative, cleric OP or this class counters this. I just think they need to like not worry about that, because then people start talking about balance. When they see PvP, that whole understanding that you're watching a work in progress just kind of goes out the window. Yeah, and then balance changes and stuff like that. A lot of the stuff we got to keep reminding ourselves, like, hey, that's the point of testing in Alpha 2. And yes, PvP is not designed for solo 1v1. It's designed for group combat. Correct. That rock, paper, scissors system. So I don't think they would get much out of showing a duel. Oh, you know what? Another stream I forgot to bring up that I would still like to see, because this guy mentioned crafting, naval content nodes, and of course we got the classes remaining. Sure. 2 of the 3 which we expect to see, I think. Yeah, Rogue and Bard we expect to see before Alpha 2. You know what I'm excited about, and where I think they could do kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Probably one of my most I would say this is probably right after the node system, or I'd put it after the node system as far as my level of excitement is. I'm excited for caravans, the caravan system.
Oh,
the possibilities.
How did I forget?
PvP?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just sitting here thinking, I'm like, oh wait, he said PvP, and I started thinking like, oh yeah, caravans. That's really what I'm most excited for.
Yes.
I think that would be a good stream to show PvP. Matter of fact, I'd have to find the video. I included it in one of my videos. It was hard to find the clip, but one of their was that Alpha 0 or was that pre-Alpha 1? Or was it during Alpha 1? I don't know. It was a long time ago. But they showed the caravan. It was really early game. I remember it was super buggy, so that's why I think it was Alpha 0. But they showed the caravan. I remember Margaret was playing, Steven was playing, and they had some people come, and there was PvP. And actually, I kind of want to bring up that, I might be on. I wonder if that's what the area they're gonna show for this stream. Let me pull up the wiki, chat. Hold on, going off on a little mystery. Come on, I know I got the wiki bookmarked. Yeah, hold on. But I'm pretty sure. I just can't remember if there was NPCs. Toast was there too. Do you remember if those were NPCs or players that they fought during that caravan when they showed that? I don't think it was a caravan showcase per se. But here, I know there's a good video for it. What stream was that, chat?
Yeah, so the caravans will be interesting because it's very clear that Ashes wants to make resources a lot more finite based on geographical location on the map, based on just rarity in general. And so they brought up a few times that caravans are a way for different nodes to exchange resources that you wouldn't otherwise get in your specific geographical area, which also means that if you want to try and support your PvP habit like Nice and I will, caravans will be an excellent spot to try and raid and get said expensive resources. And so, yeah, that's I can't believe I forgot about the system, because that's what about, like, that one and the high seas are the 2 that I'm most excited about.
Yes, and it's like me and you always say, like, being incentivized for PvP and having a PvP system, like, it goes into it. So else, I don't know if you've seen this, okay, but if you could pull up the wiki real quick, just type in caravans, it'll bring you to the caravan page, excuse me. Okay. And if you scroll down on the right side of the page, if you look under caravan PvP, it might be better to just type that in, caravan PvP. There's an interesting clip that's worth watching of a caravan attack. It's an old one. It's like an Alpha 1 stream, I think. Yeah, it says Alpha 1 early preview. So you guys think, okay, Genkenstadt said forest bandits.
This 45-second clip.
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. So what I'm looking for here is I can't tell, and it's a mayoral caravan. Margaret's controlling. What I was wondering if they are going to show us if it's going to be this exact spot, because highway bandits. I don't know. It just kind of reminded me of it. But regardless, I'm trying to see if these are NPCs. I think they're NPCs.
Yeah, guys, the game's not going to look like this. Like,
yeah. By the way, this is very old footage.
Yeah.
Very old footage. This was Alpha 1. I wonder how many years ago this was. And then they attacked the caravan. I would love an updated caravan showcase. But it made me wonder if this could be. I was hoping I'd see one of the NPC names and it'll say highway, but that's obviously, this is so long ago. They've changed so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was an interesting caravan clip, because I think this is among the only thing that we've seen of caravans, if I recall, chat. But yeah, I wonder if anyone will come up with workarounds to get AOC open on Steam Deck like so many other games. Steam has a lot of workarounds. I could see it being possible. Maybe not directly compatible, but you could probably come up with some keybinds or something like that. So many people on YouTube show Alpha 1 footage with zero context, makes people go crazy. Yes, dude. Yeah, like, oh, this game looks like crap. Oh, this looks like PlayStation 1. Like, dude, this was like super early development. But anyways, back to this guy's forum post. Either way, I'm happy to see the progress they've made with the cleric, even if it's not what you want to see. But yeah, I'm okay with seeing the cleric. I mean, I think it had to get its full showcase eventually anyway. I think it was just like one of those last minute changes once they realized that they couldn't do nodes this month. Like, okay, what can we show? What is available? So
yeah,
I think we're gonna. I think I'm good with that. I get the point of his post. So we'll pull up the next article here. What do we got? Ooh, I haven't looked at this one, but I see the title. PvE players. Tell me why you follow Ashes of Creation.
So the reason I pulled this up is because there's one comment in here, and I'm not trying to insult any person or anything like that, but I wanted to read it to you, and you could tell me your thoughts.
Okay, let's listen to this chat.
Okay, so the first comment is, doesn't matter if the first time you saw Ashes was in Kickstarter or just learned of the project 2 weeks ago. As a PvE first player, what makes you look forward to PvE in Ashes of Creation, or what was the defining feature that you're looking forward to? I think this is very interesting because this is not, related to us, and so it's nice to know like other people's points of view. This person writes, as someone that is no top-end PvE as well as an amount of PvP, I could see a good number of reasons why someone that prefers PvE would have been looking at Ashes in the past. To start, there is no mention at all of PvP on the game's Kickstarter page. There is, however, a long list of primarily PvE games that developers came from, games they wanted people to know. This has been our experience. Generally, when a company does that, it's a way of saying, if you liked these games, you probably liked what we were doing. If you first read the game's Kickstarter and then went to the game's wiki page, you would think they were two different games. As to why anyone that isn't primarily concerned with PvP, not just PvP, but actual perpetual competition with other players for basically everything, would still be looking at the game, I am not sure. Hope that perhaps the game will swing back to something closer to what was talked about on the Kickstarter page, perhaps. And so yeah, and so so I read this and I've made it clear, like I started following Ashes after, in 2021 or 2020, right after like the Asmongold videos and stuff. So I've looked at the Kickstarter page, but it's been a while, and it wasn't something that like I didn't get attracted to this game because of the Kickstarter. And so we have had drama for 2 weeks now about people saying that people are pivoting off of the development team is pivoting from their core values, yada yada yada. And yeah, I wanted your opinion on this point of view, and since you said you watched the Kickstarter page, the video, so
there is no way this is real. How do I even address this without being? How do you How do you look into this game? I don't care if it's at the Kickstarter phase. I don't care if you found out about it this week, last year, 2 years ago. How do you look at this game and think it's just going to be a PvE super friendly? Not that it's not going to have PvE or be PvE friendly, but how do you look at this game and say there was no mention of PvP? I don't understand that concept. PvX rather, is weaved into the very fabric of the game. Conflict, risk versus reward. I have people tell me this is a PvP MMO, a PvP focused MMO. I have never heard Ashes of Creation being accused of being a strict PvE MMO. This notion that Ashes strayed from its vision and is just not staying true to its PvE roots is just false. It doesn't make sense. It has no context. It lacks evidence to back it up, and it is just your misunderstanding. And I think you must have confused it for Pantheon.
Yeah, I saw that, and like I always like to have a healthy amount of skepticism, like, oh, maybe I missed something on the Kickstarter page, right? And so that's why I posted the Kickstarter page. Also, if you wanted a quick click on that.
Yeah, let's do that.
So if you go and the only thing that I see with them that I somewhat agree with, I want to be clear that I think that they're wrong. I think that a lot of this is just not true, especially when you watch the video, you can see that. But they do mention what is a freehold, and it's under the FAQ, and it says the freehold system is what we're calling out of node housing. It consists of a plot where you place buildings that serve different purposes, such as farming, smithing, or just living. It will have a modular approach, and we think it's a great way for players to express themselves as well as enhance their character. This is the only one where I feel like there is a gray area to where they never said it's for anyone, for everyone, but they also didn't say that it was going to be limited in the Kickstarter. But if you watch the video, and we don't have to, within the first 2 minutes, they go through their core pillars of the game. And the second pillar is literally PvP. And it's nodes, it's PvP, it's their storyline, and I forget what the fourth one was. But it's like it's at the 2.5-2 minute mark. They're like, yeah, our second core pillar system is PvP. And I'm like, okay, well, where is this coming from then? Because I feel like they've been very straightforward. And even the Kickstarter page from 6 years ago lines up with everything that they've done, everything that they said they wanted to do. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. So
that is the craziest take I've ever seen. That is mind blowing. I don't even know how, you know how you have a respectful debate, like, hey, I don't agree with you, I get what you're saying, but I think this. I don't even know how you can, like, when the base of the argument falls on such a false and mind-blowing, blasphemous narrative or premise, how do you even respond to this kind of person?
Yeah, I agree. And I was looking for it. I really was. And I was just like, wow, this just looks misinformed to me.
That is insane. That is I don't know what he might be confusing Ashes with another game. That's the only thing I could think of. I don't know how someone that looks into this game for a lengthy period of time, whether it was at the beginning, the middle, lately, I don't see how you get that vibe of thinking it was just not going to be PvP. He said there is no mention at all of PvP. So you just thought that... I don't get it.
If you scroll a little bit farther down, the third post below that post from Lineker, they go on to say, do you really need to take literally any opportunity in any post to push your agenda lying about stuff? And then he thoroughly debunks like a lot of what they say here. First, in the Kickstarter video, they mentioned they have devs that worked on Call of Duty. Does that mean Call of Duty players will like AOC? Now, if you look up LinkedIn, you will see they have multiple devs whose main experience comes from mobile games. Does that mean mobile gamers will like Ashes of Creation? They just posted relevant experience developers had at the time. That's about it. Stop trying to make these random correlations to push your wrong ideas. Now, second and most importantly, literally the first thing on the Kickstarter is the damn video. And 247 fucking minutes into the video, Steven says Ashes of Creation is about 4 primary pillars. And he mentions first the node system, and the fucking second thing he talks about in regards to 4 primary pillars is meaningful conflict through PvP and how it can catalyze change in the environment around you. The second pillar for Ashes of Creation is literally PvP. So yeah, the 4 pillars: nodes, PvP, economy, narrative. So
oh my goodness. And look, he's got the image.
Yeah, he's posting it as the timestamp.
Shout out to Linker. Oh, bro. Oh, wow. Did that guy respond? Okay, he responded.
Yeah.
He said, to be clear, I said the page, not the video, blah, blah, blah. Like a good number of people, the bulk of my time where I have access to the... Oh, here we go. Okay. Like a good number of people, the bulk of my time where I have access to the internet and are not playing a game is not suitable for me to be watching a video. The page for the Kickstarter...
Years. You've been busy for 6 years.
Bro, you posted this July 17th, 2023. What?
If you want to reference the Kickstarter, you better know the frickin' Kickstarter. That's all I'm going to say.
The page for the Kickstarter should have all applicable information on it. The fact is, and you have not refuted or disproven this at all, if you read the Kickstarter page and are a PvE focused player, this game would appeal to you. That's because it's a great game. It should appeal to you. Stop using it appealing to you as a bad thing because you are a PvE player and it appealed to you. You're taking that and you're spinning it to some sort of narrative that because you're a PvE player and it attracted to you and you don't like PvP, thus it has no PvP or thus it shouldn't have PvP. That doesn't make sense. Edit to add. Also, if Steven was so thrilled about having COD developers on staff, why isn't COD in the list of games they claim to have worked on?
It was
why
in
would
the
working
video.
on COD? Why would COD be something they need to constantly bring up on their, making of an MMO?
Yeah.
Like, one could actually look at that and assume the game would be leaning more towards the games they have publicly and proudly displayed as working on. Dude. If you've been following this game, Steven, I'm sorry. Go ahead, else. I'm gonna get me. I'm nice. I'm nice gaming.
I mean, my perspective is like this entire argument is now if you don't watch the video on the Kickstarter that's literally front and center on the website, if you ignore that, it's about this. But that's a big friggin' thing to ignore. That's like going, on ESPN and, looking at the recent news. It's like, hey, if you ignore the story on the front page and like they're talking about this, and it's just like, you can't ignore something like this. It's 11 minutes where they're talking about the core foundation of what the game is. So if you're going to reference the Kickstarter, you should probably know what entails in the video. And this is like, I've been playing games. I don't access the internet. I can't watch the video for 6 years. For 6 years. The Kickstarter came out in 2017. And so it's like October 23rd, 2017. So 5 years, 10 months, whatever. 3 months. I don't know. Like that's just like, oh, sorry. Like I got to go feed my goldfish. I can't come hang out tonight. Like that's, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
I need a favor. I need a favor. Someone in chat that is a frequent forum user. Can you tell me what Intrepid Pack member means? Does that just mean he has the Alpha 2 key, like he bought the $250 pack? This doesn't mean he's a Kickstarter founder, does it? I need to know what this means. Does anybody in chat know what this title would mean? Because I need to know if he bought the Kickstarter pack or invested in this game at all, having not watched the Kickstarter video, at least had a misunderstanding of the game and bought it from the Kickstarter page and not watched the 11-minute video because of his limited schedule. Beta, I don't know. That blows my mind that you're on this forums, you follow this game and you are surprised at. That's what I'm saying. Like with your video, with the topic you've been discussing, like Ashes of Creation never pivoted from its core values. Like it, what point do some of these people find Ashes of Creation? Where do you hear about Ashes of Creation to where you're surprised? He bought a recent pack for the alpha/beta access. Oh, okay. Kickstarter is still active, 3 slots. Okay. The TMNT movie doesn't even have the turtles in it. Oh, I was able to see the previews that showed Casey Jones. It's not Kickstarter. Okay. That blows my mind. That is probably the most insane Ashes of Creation perspective, take, mindset, whatever you want to call it, that I have seen. Good find, else, because my goodness. Wow. I'm gonna, with all due respect, of course, this person, but it looks like to me like he's not even following the game, just a opinionated weirdo. I don't know how he comes to that conclusion. Like, there's games that I casually follow. I would never claim or go on their forums and say like, hey, they changed this, or this is not what I was promised. Like, that doesn't make sense. He said, no, I'm riled up because of that guy. I'm kind of riled up too. He pissed me off at the audacity, because this is what scares me about this. Closer to Alpha 2's launch, closer to Ashes of Creation gaining popular, we're going to get a lot of these people. We're going to get a lot of people that come out of nowhere trying to change the game, wanting part 2 of the current MMO that they play. Well, XYZ did it this way, or this doesn't seem PvE friendly, or I thought this was a PvE friendly game, or why can we please have a PvP only server or PvE only server? Can we have PvP separated? We're going to get a lot of these people. Yes. And I know I trust Steven to stay true. I don't think they're going to, backpedal off of anything, but people like this don't deserve a forum account. Do your research, bro, before investing in the game that ain't out yet. Yeah.
I mean, my perspective on looking at it is the first thing I saw when I actually like looked at the Kickstarter was like, this person literally referenced the Kickstarter for clout. Like basically like, hey, I've been following this game since it came out, and I'm going to trust that you don't know what you're talking about, and you're not going to do a simple Google search to prove me wrong. Yeah. I think, and that's the sad part is, so when I read it, I was like, I was misinformed because I wasn't following from the Kickstarter. I didn't watch the video. Like, I went and I saw how much they made, but that's basically all I did. So it was like, imagine people that aren't as plugged in seeing people post stuff like this and thinking like, oh wow, yeah, the Kickstarter was different. This team has changed. This has changed. And yeah, I saw it and I was like, wow, this is just uninformed. This is complete like misinformation about what this game actually is. And I thought it was worth posting.
Had he been a little bit more bland with it, if he had said something like, I see a lot of people, they try to use this, they like, when I first started following, it was this way, it was this way, it was that way, it was PvE focused. You probably like, dang, was there a time? You like because they don't get too specific, they don't specify a month, and you're like, dang, well, I don't think I was following Ashes back then. Maybe Steven said that at some point. I don't know, but from what it's like the freeholds argument, how people were saying, hey, it was never said that freeholds were going to be limited and blah blah blah, and you're like, and I'm like, I don't recall that being a thing, but hey, maybe at some point in 2018 and I missed that stream or whatever.
You're just not as diehard as they are. You're just not
exactly.
As
so you kind of second guess yourself, like, okay, maybe at some point that was a thing, but I don't recall. Yep. But this guy specifically, like you said, he directly referenced the Kickstarter pack. they like he skimmed the Kickstarter pack and said, "Huh, this game looks great. I'm gonna invest in this." What?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's just, if you're gonna invest in something, you should know what you're getting into. And I feel like Ashes has been very clear about what they're about and what they have been about since day one. And obviously, we're in pre-alpha 2. Some things are subject to change. A lot of things are going to change. And some things are going to look different because that's what game development is. But yeah, like just with where we're at, they're like, oh yeah, it was a PvE game. And like you watch the video and they're like, yeah, I'm a developer. I last worked on Call of Duty. And this person's like, yeah, the developers all worked on PvE games. I'm like, oh, Call of Duty's a PvE game now? Interesting.
Yeah, the cleric's going to have an M16, else you didn't know?
I didn't.
Like, what? All right, chat. We're gonna sit here and have a. You know what? Just. I'm sorry about that. Like, oh,
No, that was worth it. I have never heard
how-
nice actually get heated, so that was great.
mean gaming persona about to arise. Here, let's go to the next one. I hope you didn't uh do those crazy things back to back because we need one to calm us down. We need one to calm us down. Let's see where are we at. Let's see the Kickstarter video. Okay. This is a simple balanced tangent. I found this one today, a little bit before stream actually. Here, let's get that one showing here.
Range versus melee, that one.
Range versus melee.
Okay.
So, I'll read. This isn't a long one. I can read this whole thing for the
Go
most
for
part. Maybe just skip past some of his little dashes at the bottom, but balancing range versus melee. You know what? I'll wait. I'll wait till I read the whole thing. Balancing range versus melee. MMOs have historically had a tough time balancing ranged and melee DPS because of the inherent advantages that ranged have. They can attack sooner, have better target uptime, have to move less, and can spread out to minimize directionals, and even use the environment to make themselves difficult to attack. I thought it would be a fun discussion to hear what some of you would like to see in Ashes in an effort to keep both DPS types viable and desirable. These are some things I've seen games do to varying degrees of success. And then he goes on with a couple suggestions like making melee tankier than range through better armor, making melee more mobile, giving melee dot effects, um, making range so immobile that a couple of different takes here. Long story short, so Else and I, as we played New World. We played New World occasionally.
Oh yeah.
And that game is probably the definition, especially last year. That game was probably, or is probably, the definition of how to not balance range versus melee. Horrible job at balancing the two. And if we had to get more general, leaving New World out the subject matter, I don't need to get in detail with that, but it's just simplicity and logic in that if range DPS has the same DPS as a melee user, the game is not balanced, or it's not balanced well, or doesn't have proper logic. The advantage of range is being range. Most monsters, NPCs, ads, whatever you want to call them, there's some beast that's like, swiping at you, maybe slowly, they move towards you. And that's the typical PvE rotation. Yes, there's ranged ads and stuff like that, but usually the bosses, for the most part, most NPCs in MMOs, I would argue, are melee range. I think we can mostly agree with that. And when you're ranged and you're able to move, like backpedal, move while firing, you're at an advantage. If you can do the same DPS with less risk, then you just are at an advantage. I think that's the biggest point I can make. If you're able to do the same DPS with less risk, then there's a problem. Melee should hit harder. Does that mean I want range to hit like a noodle and not be comparable? No, not at all. But I don't think a range DPS, outside of something like a mage, and when I say DPS, I don't mean like your actual DPS, like you did X amount of this on your parse. Like if an NPC is being tanked and it's standing still and the mage is placing 4 ground-based AoEs and weaving their rotation, okay, that's going to be a lot of DPS. But if we want to talk about a PvP or a normal apples-to-apples scenario, a ranged attack shouldn't be too comparable to a melee one because of the risk that the melee one has to endure, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I've discussed this on quite a few videos covering 2 different games, covering New World and covering ESO. And ESO, I'll bring up the 2 examples that I've talked about, but ESO has often had issues with snipe, either with desync or it hitting too hard. And like you said, there's a risk reward for this. And think of yourself as a guy that's operating at long range, Dr. Gankenstein. If you're operating at long range, you do not have to build tankiness. You don't have to stack health. You don't have to stack mitigation, because your ability to survive is the distance you have from your opponent. That's your survival, is operating at a much further range than your opponent. And so you can actually stack more damage than a melee counterpart, because if you're melee and you have to get in melee range, that means they can hit you back. And so you have to build survival a little bit as a melee class in order to counter it. And so there's always been this struggle, mostly due to desync, mostly due to just like snipe desyncing the crap out of you and you just flop over dead and you're unhappy about it. But it's also just like the mitigation issues are like there's just less risk and you get more reward by building glass cannon on that specific playstyle over the course of the years. New World was the same way with muskets. Like you could have mortal empowerment. For those of you guys that didn't know what mortal empowerment is, if you kill people, you gain a 2% damage bonus per each person killed, and it was up to like 15 stacks or something? 20 stacks?
That's crazy.
So you could do like 30% more damage with mortal empowerment. Now, once you die, all those disappear. But the thing is if you're operating at range with a musket, the minute somebody looks at you, you have a rapier back bar, and you just flourish away, and like you're gone. And you do so much damage. And there were literally times where Nice and I would play, and we would hop into an OPR, and there was nowhere to hide, like literally nowhere to hide, because you had musket players on the tops of these mountains just shooting different line of sight angles, and you just got your ass melted. And it was fucking awful. It was awful every once in a while. And yeah, like those sorts of things can happen. And so yes, I agree. Like you need to make sure to take into account, like, hey, if you're at range, your positives are mobility. And you don't have to build tanky. And just keeping that in mind for not just like balancing the skills, like as a blanket, like snipe does 10k damage, so D-swing should do 10k damage because it's melee.
Yeah.
No, that you have to also take into account how people are going to build with those specific play styles.
Yes.
So I agree.
Making armor, like really make it so that people that want to be ranged have to wear lighter armor or are incentivized to wear lighter armor is very important. Like if you build, and that's one of those common sense applications that most games try to tackle, or most MMOs from my understanding, like the lighter your armor, the more damage you do. If they do something like that, then I think it'll be fine. But I think the biggest thing, and I think he mentioned it here, this is one of his good suggestions, I'd say, making melee so mobile that uptime is rarely interrupted. I think the way to say that, or what I mean, is just make melee more mobile. Have options for speed, have gap closers, if you will, so that it doesn't become a range meta. We've seen the worst range meta. I don't want to say in history. I haven't played every MMO, haven't played every game.
Yeah.
But like Els was referencing earlier, muskets were literally oppressive. Muskets were traumatizing even. Like, it made you not enjoy the game. We just get 3-shot while we're crossing open field. It was actually insane. And then those same people that are nuking you with more damage than you do at melee range, by the way, they're also mobile, so they can run away if you do somehow manage to close the gap. Horrible balance. And so I think balancing range versus melee DPS is actually a very important thing. Obviously, it's not like, I'm not saying it's a problem right now. This is stuff that we test in Alpha 2, but
yeah.
I wonder how they're going to approach that logic. I'm pretty sure Steven had a quote about, I'm pretty sure that's been asked before. I'll double check the wiki, but I feel like now that I'm thinking about it, I could be wrong, but I thought I heard that question asked before. I don't know what I'd search in the wiki for it, but range balance would be something to type.
Yeah, this guy comments and he says, just want to say, while you're looking, just want to say this at the moment is combat is not balanced for 1v1 situations and more group oriented. And they also mentioned it to be somewhat rock, paper, scissors to a degree in regards to PvP at least. Yes, but that's the problem is if ranged, and this goes both ways. I'm not shitting on range. I'm not shitting on melee or anything like that. There needs to be a harmony. Nobody wants to play PvP in just a brawler only environment. Nobody wants to play PvP in a range only environment. You need to have pros and cons of different play styles and the ability to play yours at the maximum capabilities. if range gets too oppressive, these groups are just going to run range. And they're going to mow people down with range. If melee is too oppressive, they're going to mow groups down with melee. We saw that also in OPRs. You know, when tanks, when Battle Axe, Hammer, and a couple different healers were just kind of steamrolling people for a little bit there too, because that was the only way you could survive muskets. Like, so yeah, neither one is a good thing. You need to have a balance.
Definitely. Here, I'm trying to see. I just remember there was some sort of something. Rolls, PVX, gain difficulty, power creep. It'll take me too long to find it. If it exists, I could just be tripping. So, yeah. All right. How's it going, Hounds? Going pretty good. All right. So let's move to the next topic here. Oh, yeah. So this one's actually a dev discussion that we're going to bring up here. Let's see. Here, let me make sure that you guys can see what I'm seeing. There we go. So, dev discussion, RNG. This was actually posted by Vacnar. If you guys didn't know, Vacnar is a Vec mixed with a Talnar, and that's how he was born. A baby Vec and what is it? A Talnar and a Vec got together, and they made him. They made baby Vacnar. Glorious Ashes community. It is time for another dev discussion. Dev discussion topics are kind of like reverse Q&A. Rather than you asking us questions about Ashes creation, we want to ask you what your thoughts are. It's amazing. When the last time I heard that from an MMO that I was playing? Well, to be fair, New World's been doing okay, but yeah. Our design team has compiled a list of burning questions we'd love to get your feedback on regarding gameplay, your past MMO experiences, and more. Join in on the dev discussion and share what makes gaming special to you. Dev discussion, RNG. Which systems do you feel utilize RNG the best? Where do you feel RNG does not belong? What RNG-based systems or features have you enjoyed the most? Keep an eye out. Oh, this is a juicy one. This one means a lot to me. I got some passion behind this one, if you will. So I'll start off with which systems do you feel utilize RNG the best? I think normal video game RNG is fine. You kill a boss, it has X amount of chance to drop this sword, this legendary weapon, this loot table, if you will. I think RNG is fine. I think some games overdo it. I think there's ways to do smart RNG. If I'm playing the tank archetype and I'm fighting a boss, don't even give me the legendary wand. I know there's group loot and all that stuff that you can do, but I don't even want that as a drop. Even though I think any class can use any weapon for the most part. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's what I remember. I just want smart RNG. And another smart RNG, and I think I can finally compliment the Elder Scrolls Online on something, is grinding used to be horrible. Well, still is horrible in that game. You farm a dungeon for a specific weapon drop of a specific set. You're going to do that thing up to 1,000 times potentially. They eventually introduced the sticker book system where once you get a certain thing of a certain set, it's crossed off in your sticker book. So this made it so that eventually, you will get that weapon. RNG can still be very horrible to you in that the weapon that you want is like one of the last two things that's left in the sticker book, or it can be one of the first things, but you basically made it so that you're guaranteed at some point to get that RNG drop. Yes. So I think something like a sticker book or something like that was really good, and I think that's a good utilization of RNG. I don't mind grinding or RNG loot drops, but just kind of add some sort of smart RNG elements to it. Where do you feel RNG does not belong? This one, you already know what I'm gonna bring up else.
Yeah, it's probably the same thing I'm gonna bring up.
Crafting.
Sure.
RNG does not belong in crafting. I hate it. New World is the worst thing in the world for that. RNG perks. I don't know who thought that was a good idea. I guess it's a good way to keep the player having to play and grind and, you know, boost the economy. But New World is the most dumb decision maker for RNG craft, and I think that's the dumbest thing, not to be able to guarantee your perks and just choosing 2 perks and then just hoping that of all these perks in the world, this is the 3rd one that lands. Especially when it comes to trying to get in something best in slot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like leaving some things up to luck. That you're not a master crafter. You're not a master crafter in New World. You're just a master gambler.
Yeah, you're just
and I feel like RNG doesn't matter. Like you are not. I can't stress that enough. You're not a master crafter in New World. You have the best odds. You're just boosting your odds. But yeah, I'll leave it at that. I just feel like RNG does not belong in crafting. What other system? That's really the only one. I would say damage or combat too, but I think crit chance is one of those staples. I don't mind. I like RNG with when it comes to critical strikes and stuff like that. If there's like a certain percentage and stuff like that, I think that's fine. You take it from there, Alex.
I'm gonna hit the low hanging fruit, and I'm gonna say crown store items, which is. I absolutely despise systems that build into people's inner gambling tendencies and make them feel like they have to buy more loot boxes in order to get a specific item. And I know that's technically not part of a game. Well, it is part of a game, but it's not actually in the game. I don't like it. I really, really hope that Ashes won't do that also, because yeah, it's not cool. It's not cool in my opinion. So.
I think RNG should not be involved in anything money related. I agree with you. Loot boxes are horrible. If there's a cosmetic, I will spend money in the cash shop all day, especially this being a no box. I mean, come on. I spent 250 for
I bought the cape. I bought the cape.
If you give me a price on something, there's so many times when I see something cool in the Elder Scrolls Online store, they don't realize it, but there is some stuff that is so cool. It probably it looks that cool because the game has that's one thing it's good at. It has good cosmetics. There's been times I've seen something, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need my character to have that, whether it's for role play purposes or it just looks cool.
Yeah.
I will spend $20 on that. I will spend $30 on that. It's probably too much and it's a dumb decision, but I want that so bad. I'll spend that 15, 20, whatever dollars on it. You know what I don't want to do is spend that money and that cosmetic is locked inside of an RNG loot box and just hope that just hope and buy boxes until I get a chance at that. Even with the Elder Scrolls Online Crown Gem system, to where like you can deconstruct the stuff that you don't want and eventually maybe you can buy it outright. That is a horrible thing. The Radiant Apex mounts being a result of gambling. You can't just, stuff like that. And we can go off on a whole tangent. I'll try not to, but loot boxes, RNG, cosmetics, cash shop things, nothing cash shop related should be RNG.
I agree. Yeah, that would be my big one. The first thing I thought of when I said this, but yeah, then you said crafting. I was like, oh yeah, RNG crafting's a bitch.
RNG crafting. You know what? I'll even try to be a little bit lenient with RNG crafting. And because we know crafting's going to have some sort of mini games. Maybe you got to strike your hammer at the right time. I don't know. There's some sort of mini games to crafting. We know that's what we do know right now. I would have to say, if there's RNG involved in the strength of an item, let's say it has a potential to be between, let's say 600 damage is like the cap for a one-hander. If at a certain rank of crafting, you're guaranteed that roll will be somewhere between 595 and 600 damage, if that matters. Okay. If you have RNG on the damage or the max damage, okay.
Yeah.
I think Diablo 4 has a good system where, okay, so I'll just briefly and horribly probably explain Diablo 4's current system. So there's these things called aspects. Let's call them like mythics in the Elder Scrolls Online.
Okay.
So when you deal, let's say this is our aspect / mythic. When you deal single target damage, you have between a 20 and 40% chance to conjure a frost storm at that target's location. Now, the mythic has an RNG chance of dropping anywhere between 20 and 40%. So you can pick up that mythic / aspect and it'll be 21%. That's not the highest uptime you're going to get on that, right? Like that's the bottom tier of what that could possibly drop as.
Sure.
So you can pick one up that has single target attacks have a 21% chance of causing a frost storm at that location, or you can have the best one, which is 40% chance of single. You know, when you do a single target attack, you can conjure a frost storm. I think that's actually okay, kinda. Like if there is gonna be some sort of RNG crafting and it comes to perks, like let me guarantee my perks that I want. But if there's like a percentile pool to where let's say my dagger has crit chance, that crit chance could be anywhere between 15 and 20%. If my roll happens to be 18% or it could be 20%, I would tolerate it. I don't prefer it. I'm not saying I want that, but I would be okay with it if there was RNG involved with crafting at that extent.
Can I think my one opinion about this is I don't mind farming for gear if the content that I'm doing is enjoyable to do.
Well said.
What gets really annoying in different games is when you have low RNG chance and you ended up just like you tread a line between it being like, hey, this is an MMO, you're supposed to be working towards like what you're supposed to, the best stuff, and like, hey, I'm doing needless busy work for months on end for a piece that might get nerfed by the time I get it. And I think that's like my biggest concern sometimes. Like my worst experience with RNG and ESO is when Maelstrom Arena came out. I wanted the Maelstrom two-hander because it was the best weapon by far. Exploits, anybody that plays at that point in time, like it was free damage running the Maelstrom axe. And so I wanted it. And then I also wanted the Maul. And so the sharpened Maul was the best in slot weapon. I wanted the best in slot weapon. And I farmed Maelstrom Arena 2 to 3 times. I probably farmed it 10, 15 times a week. And so that was like 10 to 15 hours every single week doing Maelstrom, doing it on all of my different classes so I could get the weekly rewards. It took me 10 months to finally get the sharpened Maul. 10 months of me doing this. And when I finally got it, they nerfed it a month later.
Oh my. Oh, and transmuting wasn't a thing back there either,
no.
so you had to skip with whatever trait it dropped.
So I had to get the sharpened Maul.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like, but at least like Maelstrom Arena was challenging, so it was kind of fun for that. But yeah, I don't know, like if it's too easy and that type of RNG is hitting you, it like Death Dealer's Feat, I think, where you have to go through go through Dragon Star Arena on normal. Like that's just fucking busy work, man. Like don't
it should be guaranteed.
Yeah.
Like, say you complete vet DSA or you complete normal DSA, you have that lead. It shouldn't be an RNG chance after doing this 50-minute or however quick people are doing it these days. Long arena. That's just a dumb design. That's just a dumb decision. Somebody in chat here, Ivo says RNG is relevant in gambling. Should be relevant in any percentage-based system. Otherwise, why bother having stats? At the bare minimum, there should always be a tiny chance of auto success or auto fail. I get that take. I think some RNG makes things fun and gives things a chance for replayability. I definitely get that. Something I want to touch on that Else actually just said, make my grind loop fun. Make it interesting. We don't, like you say, we don't want to just run the same dungeon constantly for a chance at this. Like having to farm a dungeon for a specific set. Okay, there's probably no way around that in MMOs. Like, you're going to have to farm a certain area or a certain dungeon at this RNG chance of a drop, but give some meaning to it. I just hope there's meaning to it. Like, I hope I don't gotta repeat the same quest for the chance at something, If I gotta grind these zombies in this one area that's known for dropping a special ring that's good on my necromancer / summoner, then okay, cool. But have some way that the player's doing something else at the same time, or that it's just not too tedious. But I mean, I guess that's a tough thing to accomplish, but it's rare. But sometimes games have been able to make grinds fun. I think leveling scrying on ESO was probably something I had fun like leveling.
Yep, so did I. I had fun grinding the Maelstrom 2H. Even though it took 10 months and it was annoying, it was challenging. I did not have fun farming DDF. I did not enjoy redoing old content again. Like that was not enjoyable for me. I do have a comment here from Ben, and he says, I love some RNG crafting if it's very small, like 25% movement speed boots, but you roll a godly roll and it gets 27%. Love that. So
Yeah.
yeah, I can see that. I can definitely
So
see
like that Diablo system. I think Diablo kind of nailed it there. It's like, okay, you have a small chance of getting this aspect, but also after getting it, you also have to, you want the best possible roll. So maybe the effect that it gives you is good and you're satisfied. Like, I finally got it. Is it the best roll I could have gotten? No, but I finally got it. I can continue grinding or I can continue doing something else and probably come grind a better version of this later, but I don't have to sit here all day and, just keep hoping for it. Like, I got it. I just want a better version of it. And guess what? Now you got a goal. Like, yeah, you got the thing, but now let's try to min max maybe. Let's try to get the best version of that if possible.
Yeah.
Charles says, can you explain how earning gold works? Because what I read was when you kill mobs, they drop certificates or something that you must take to the corresponding node. Explain, please. I'll be completely honest. I'm not an expert in that. It's been a while since they've said anything about that. But that's what I remember is the certificate system, and that's how you get gold. But I thought I thought mobs did drop gold. I know there's the certificate. I can't say that word right now. I know there's that as well, but I could have sworn that mobs did drop gold. I could be wrong. It's been a while since I've looked into that.
Honestly,
But
I don't know.
I don't want to steer you. I don't want to steer you wrong. With my rough memory, so I'll just I mean, I could look it up for you, I guess. Here, why not? Here, let's bring up the wiki screen. Here, let's see. I'll just see earning gold. I'll just type in gold and see if we can find a quick answer if possible. Nope, it says it right there in black and white. Monsters don't drop gold. They instead drop the hunting certificates. And oh yeah, now it's come back to me. This is why like the hunting grounds and stuff like that was in. Okay, let's click hunting certificates. This wiki is freaking amazing. Hunter certificate is a term that covers items such as pelts that house the value of a mob's death. These certificates, told you I can't say that word today, are specific to an economic region. These are intended as an alternative mechanic to acquire gold. See, that's pretty cool. I mean, that seems pretty self-explanatory to me. You don't carry the gold, you just carry certificates. You know what else? That actually answers our question from last stream about like if we can raid a guild bank. Well, I guess they still once they turn into certificates, they could have gold in their bank. So I guess never mind, that still stands. So that's interesting though. But you know what I like now that I'm looking at this and thinking about it?
Oh.
Chad beat me to it. Chad beat me to it. Oh, that is awesome. So Chad just beat me to it. I looked at chat right while I was mid-sentence. He said basically what I was about to say. A bear shouldn't have gold on them. I love that. How smart of a system is it? I hate when I kill. Now it's different when you kill a mob and they drop like a special weapon. Like say they killed the Cyclops from the last stream and he drops this cool staff with an eyeball on it. Like that's the unique staff from that world boss. I get that. Like you can argue lore wise or roleplay wise that the mage killed that Cyclops and pulled that eye out or put his eye on the staff, and that's what that RNG weapon dropped. That's the result of that. Nothing makes sense when you kill a random bear in the wild or a random NPC in the wild and they just drop a bunch of gold coins or they drop a bow. So I like this hunting certificates thing. And that's really cool because you find a good hunting ground to farm gold. Like you go back to the node with a lot of certificates to turn in, make some bank. Like it feels better that way in my opinion.
I got a first-time comment from Galwood, and they say certificates are an anti-bot measure. They have extra steps to do so, at least. And the further you carry the certificates, the more gold you get for turning them in. And so it's just like an extra process to prevent botting, according to them.
Oh, I love this. That is very interesting. That is, may I say, genius almost. Genius level of effort, I'll say. Okay. I really like that. Good question there. That was a good tangent. You actually taught me something there.
Yeah.
Because I could have sworn I remembered something about the gold drops. I remember the hunting certificate, but either I haven't read this in a while, or I think I completely just didn't know. I definitely didn't know about the traveling thing. That's complete news to me. So that's a good shout right there. That's a very good shout. Good question, dude.
Steven
Good
is a
question,
smart
Charles.
dude. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's so smart, man. That's really smart. Over enchanting too. Oh, this useless state that really sucked. You don't know how that you don't know how that bear earns a living. Hey, maybe it wasn't a bear. Maybe it was a tall nar. That's pretty cool. What was I about to look at? I think we could probably. Do we have another one to
I
go
got
over?
I got one more, and then yeah, we can call it after that if you want.
Okay.
So we got the live stream on Friday. Do you have any sort of rampant speculation, or what are you looking forward to with the stream itself? Because I know we already kind of talked about it before. Cleric's the second reveal, yada yada yada. But what are you hoping that they do on the stream?
Ooh. Trying to say something that's not the obvious because we already know we're gonna see the class kit. We're gonna see the skills. What I'm hoping for, and something I'm sure that we're gonna get, because I know they're gonna do a group setting, of course. I am interested, and something I'm gonna be personally paying attention to is the healing mechanics. And like I mentioned earlier, they showed a little bit of that whack-a-mole, which I think WoW players are probably more familiar with. I've never healed in a game that's tab target or has that kind of system. I'm interested to see how much action mode, how viable action mode heals are, if that makes sense. Like basically where you just see your
Sure.
teammates low health and so you just aim the heal at them rather than clicking their name from a party screen or doing that style of healing. I'm actually curious on that. I hope we get like a special bonus reveal. I mean, I'll be satisfied if it's just a pure cleric showcase, but I hope some other stuff is discussed. But I think they'll have an off tangent of how healing will work and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm mostly interested in seeing. I guess in short, my answer would be healing mechanics. Oh,
Okay.
you know what? Second most exciting thing, or second thing I want to see most, is the cleric as a damage spec, like the damage capabilities. We saw a lot of the healing, but I want to see the damage dealer potential is what I want to see. The holy magic.
Sure. Yeah, for me it comes down to I'm interested to see, like, are they going to do a walk through the world like they have in other reveals with other classes, and are they going to show, like, I keep thinking back to the tank reveal where they were showing how you can activate different skills and then that buffs your team's damage in different ways. I'm hoping they go in depth as to what type of buffs and augments the cleric will have in the same way. I really want to see, like, hey, this is how we view what the cleric is in this game. This is what they provide, and this is how we want to empower them so that they're they're powerful within the game, and you want to
Yeah.
play this specific thing. I think you mentioned it earlier, but didn't Steven also say that it may not be long enough for a stream, which may be hinting at they're covering something else?
I don't recall. I don't
Uh,
recall.
okay, maybe
Um,
I'm just misremembering, so I don't want to provide
um,
misinformation.
but I do remember. Well, something you made me think about is the buffs. So this could be the cleric being not a buff bot. I don't want to call it that, but it's a support class, the cleric and
Yes.
the bard. We know those are the two archetypes that's gonna have purges. I know they let that slip. Not that it was a huge secret, but we probably assumed that. But anyways, something you just made me think about is this is probably the stream where we're gonna get a look at status effects, like what their names are. So in the mage stream, the shock damage had a chance to cause a certain status effect. I don't remember what it's called. It might actually be called shot. I know I did a breakdown on the mage showcase, but I can't remember what the name of the status effect is at this moment. But I don't know if it made them take more damage, but basically that element had a status effect associated with it. And I remember burning was one, but I think burning was a dot. Don't quote me on it, but that's what I recall. But
Sure.
anyways, I wonder, since the cleric is such a support tool, that we're gonna get to see a behind the scenes or a preview of all the buffs that's in the game. Now, when I say buffs in the game, I mean something like, okay, in Elder Scrolls Online, Major Evasion is a buff that reduces AoE damage by 20%.
Yes.
Um, you know, this buff is a buff that does
Buffs
increases
your
damage
armor.
by 5%. Yeah,
Yeah.
but this buff is a armor buff. Are there going to be major and minor buffs, or is it just going to be one buff for each thing? What are their names? What buffs do the cleric provide? That's something I think we could look forward to expecting with this upcoming stream. Uh, I would also like to see more synergy. So in the original, I don't want to call it a cleric stream. It was the day and night cycle stream, but we're going to say cleric stream for, simplicity purposes. They showed how the cleric had an ability that staggers people. And then I think it was the fighter inside of the party where if the fighter uses this ability on a staggered opponent, um, XYZ happens as a result.
Yes.
And so I think now that we could expect the tank to be in this showcase, assuming they bring all previous archetypes, hell, maybe they'll have the fighter, mage, tank, all of them, who knows? But I know basically see like what are some other synergy potential combinations. I think that would be pretty cool.
Yeah. That's the first thing that I thought of like when
The forum,
I thought of the tank, and I was like, okay, cleric is going to be the support class. It's going to do this. It's going to do this. I really want them to like, hey, this is when they do the reveal. Like, this is what it's going to feel like when you're playing the cleric. Because I feel like these archetype reveals are your way of like letting the player base immerse themselves into the game for the first time if they do it well.
Yes.
Like you could see yourself as a cleric playing a cleric, So I really hope that they approach it well from that point of view.
Agreed. Like make you feel like, okay, I can see myself playing that class. Like I think the mage archetype put you like, obviously we're just watching, right? This pre-alpha footage, pre-development footage or whatever you want to call it. Like watching the mage showcase, we were able to see like, you know what? I like mages in game. Then you watch that mage, like, yeah, I can see me playing this. I like that skill. Like, you get a feel for it without actually playing it. And I think that's a good point made. Like, you get to see before Alpha 2, because I mean, we're all gonna be sitting there like, oh, what race am I? When we get our hands on it, what race am I gonna choose? What archetype do I want to choose? And if you can have enough footage before Alpha 2's launch to know, like, oh, I already know I want to do this. I like the way this class plays. This class has this skills. I love this archetype, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I think that's really good. And to know what you're looking into day one of what you're going to play. You may still try other things, but like, okay, I can see that being my main. Honestly, watching the Ranger stream, I was like, I like that. And that's, like I said earlier, it's probably just because I'm familiar with the Ranger from Guild Wars 2 and they look so similar. But the mage archetype, when I watched that one, I was like, oh, I can see how that plays. And I know it's a basic ability probably in every wizard and every MMO, but man, that blink looks so cool. Like I'm all about mobility and traversal. And I almost like something a lot of people didn't pay attention to, in my opinion, in the mage showcase is that they were jump casting abilities, like, and that's something I was curious on if they would do. But there's a couple of parts you'll see, like he'll jump and then hit the blink so he can hit something at a higher terrain. I think at one point he was down those steps near that thing he started off at. He jumped and then blinked, and that put him at the top of the stairs. Whereas if he would have did a normal blink, he obviously would have blinked to the middle of the staircase. So I think, watching the mage showcase, I felt like I got a feel for that archetype. So yeah.
Exactly. Completely agree.
I got one more post here.
Okay.
And while we're on the subject, the corruption one. And while we're on the subject, I want to say I'm actually glad they're showing the cleric again, because the day and night cycle, I thought, and here's my hot take of the stream. I was saving this for the end, where hopefully no one will be listening. I thought that the day and night cycle stream was the least appealing visually, like by far, by a huge margin. I'm talking like the Unreal Engine 5 showcase looked better than what we saw 7 months or however many months later the day and night cycle was. I could just tell that that area that they was in, that graveyard, was just unfinished. The nighttime didn't really look too nighttime to me. And just the overall visuals of that area, I can tell it was unfinished. And I think they kind of hinted at that when they said, when I think Steven saw a certain kind of lamppost and he's like, oh, that's one of our really early models. Like, I could just tell that they did that day and night cycle in a very unfinished location.
Sure.
But yeah. So we have I enjoyed the showcase. Let me say that I really enjoyed it, but I thought it was the visually least appealing. But it was a great and informal showcase, in my opinion. So let's take a look at this. So we have corruption and PvP. How many of you will still be engaging in world PvP / ganking, regardless of corruption? I thought this was a good one for you to answer. And a couple of the comments were pretty, what you expect. That depends on how bad corruption balancing is. This person, hey, it's our guy from earlier who thought this was a PvE game. I don't see corruption as being all that much of a deterrent to engaging in PvP. It may alter the outcome of PvP, however. I don't know what that means, but
is this your revenge for me making you mad from their same post earlier? You're gonna try and make
it is.
Okay.
And this guy says, I'll definitely engage in PvP, and on very rare occasions in PvP that has the risk of gaining corruption as part of the greater campaign against a rival node, for example. Generally, for the type of gaming experience I am looking forward to having, the corruption will be conducive rather than deterring, as it will disincentivize more destructive playing styles. Me personally, I don't plan on I want to test corruption. Like, I want to see, like, okay, what are not going out my way to find exploits, but how can this be exploited? Is this corruption penalty enough? I mean, I think that's the responsibility of all of us as an Alpha 2 tester to make sure, like, okay, what do we need to improve on? Because they're going to want feedback. I mean, that's the point of it. We're going to need to test corruption, and there's no way to do that without going corrupted. So I'll be doing it in that sense. But as far as like launch, which I think this person is talking about, obviously, I plan on doing my PvP and mostly like objective based things like caravans and stuff like that, sieges and stuff like that. But a part of me, which I guess I'll figure out in Alpha 2, wonders if going corrupted and getting those bounty hunters on me will be the best potential for me to get like a 1vx or outnumbered scenario, or really get that fun PvP action if things are dead, if there's no caravans going, etc., etc. Maybe I'm a bounty hunter and just no one's going corrupted enough, or maybe just don't like a guy. I don't know, but I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, I'll approach this from a few different points of view. I will definitely be using the corruption system, like you said, to test it, to play with it, to find PvP with it, those sorts of things. I have never been the type of player that beats on low levels. Like, I always want a fair or outnumbered fight. So I will be attempting to use corruption to force people to attack me, to give them the reward structure so that they will fight me, so that I can get my enjoyment that way. And so, like you said, it's possible having bounty hunters on you might be the best way to go about doing things. And so, it's going to be interesting because I'm sure there will be rival nodes, and I'm sure I can go into a rival node area and I can kill a couple people and helping the node out, and then I get bounty hunters on my ass, and then I get to fight people. And so I will say that, like, I know that this gets we get a bunch of poopy pants comments every time the corruption system's brought up, and I don't want to be whatever about it. It is a system to combat griefing, but it also is more than that. It's not just like, hey, we want to stop griefers. This is a system to where, if somebody's being annoying, or you want to go cause a ruckus for whatever reason in an area, for whatever reasons are your own, you have the ability to, with risks. Like, you have risks attached to any choice you make in the game. And so I see there being a lot of potential content out of being corrupted and doing like corrupted content. I can see a lot of fun in that. But yeah, and none of what I'm thinking of involves griefing low-level players as they're leveling. And so that's my perspective. And honestly, once I am corrupted, those low-level players have a chance to take gear off me if they kill me. And so I'm actually like donating gear eventually so yeah, I think it's going to be a fun system to test. I want to test it thoroughly because I want to make sure griefing doesn't exist, but I also want to make sure the system's fun. So that's my perspective.
I think that's more than fair. I will say this. Elder Scrolls Online, Imperial City, kill someone, you might get lucky one day they got like a 10k Telvar on them or something like that. Or an absurd amount because they was farming. I think, me personally, because when you kill like a green or whatever they are, an innocent, you go corrupted. So if they don't fight you back, but you want to kill them, you're going to get corrupted. I think if I'm in the middle of nowhere at some grind spot, or maybe not even a popular grind spot, but I happen to find someone on a Wado quest in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I see them I'm just been stalking them for a while. I see them chopping every tree. I done watched them mine a couple of things. Like, they are really gathering. And I'm like, you're in the middle of nowhere. I bet you've been out here for a while. Now, the corruption system has a lot of detriments, of course, but you incur negative XP debt that you would have to grind off to kind of cancel out the bad things that you did.
Yes. In
my head, I would like to think that a huge thrill is seeing that innocent and just risking that person is worth going corrupted for, because you got the potential of hitting that jackpot. Like, they drop a certain portion of their mats, especially if they don't fight back. Like, you come across that one guy that was just holding the finest of metals and finest of ores, and you just get lucky. And I think that thrill will probably be the scenario. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna risk going corrupted for you.
Yeah, and Telvar is the perfect example, because there's a video that's, I mean, I don't know how popular or well known it is, but there's a video where a guy kills somebody in the sewers and walks away with 450,000 Telvar off of one kill. Oh my! And the most I've ever gotten is 75k off of one kill. Jeez. And so I'll run through the sewers. I don't like to attack low levels, but if I see a low level in the sewers, like a 30 or 40, I'll kill him once. Same reason you're bringing up. Like, I don't know how long you've been down here. Have you been down here since level 10? Like, dude, you got 30,000 Telvar on you and you don't know what it is. So I'll kill him once, and then often I'll shoot him a message like, hey man, just had to check. I'm not going to bother you anymore. On with my day. But yeah, that is a perfect example of why you would use corruption. Or another example is like, you want to farm an area for a weapon, and there's other people there, and like, you only get so many drops. You might want to go to corrupted to eliminate some people in the area, so your RNG is a bit better. Yep. And like, you're fighting over an area for stuff that you want. Is the risk worth it? Do you want to be there for 6 hours, or do you want to be there for 1? Hypothetically, and so these are the things you're gonna have to measure when you're out there. Like, oh man, do I kill this guy, or do I kill this person? Do I get their guild on me? And
you just made me think of a fun workaround, depending on the grind spot. If you're at a grind spot and so say me and you are farming something, and someone comes over and they're trying to farm the same boss, and we're like, we don't want you here.
Yeah.
If we kill them and get corrupted, get that negative XP or whatever, what's pretty cool is maybe in certain areas that's not going to be a huge detriment, because we're already at a grind spot.
Yeah, we're farming
XP.
Yeah,
exactly. So depending on the grind spot you roll up on, they may not even think twice about going corrupted. We got a comment from Ivo in chat. He says, what worries me with AOC is combat hasn't been sorted. Should be the first thing done in an MMO, especially in a PvP focused MMO. If combat fails, so will the game, no matter how pretty it looks. Ooh, I like that. I like it.
I do agree with that. I do agree with that perspective, but this is pre-alpha 2. And so the combat will be fleshed out and tested and measured during alpha 2 and beta. And so I agree, but I think it's just getting a little bit too far ahead, and these other systems need to be fleshed out before we can even get to that point to discuss combat. In my opinion.
So I agree with Elts. I get your perspective. I understand that. I
do
think
agree.
combat is the most important thing. As far as development goes, though, here's my take on it. I don't think your combat system needs to be fully fleshed out. I don't think you need to have all that stuff sorted. Like right now, like I did a whole video about my concern that active block was yet to be implemented, or they don't know what direction that they're going in. And the reason I did that video is because of that key fact. They don't know what direction they want to go with. As far as it being actually fleshed out, I don't care. But what I think is important with Ashes of Creation combat, we at least know their combat logic. Like the weapon strings and the damage and some little tedious stuff about the combat system does not need to be ready right now. That's what we're going to be figuring out in Alpha 2, and I'm sure they'll be honing over the next couple of months. What I think all they need is just their combat logic. How do you want do you want light attacks? Oh no, you want to go with a weapon string kind of system. Cool. How do you want your range DPS to perform versus melee DPS? What are your buffs? What is your CC logic? What is your CC immunity
CC
logic?
logic's going to be so important.
So important. Stuff like that is important to flesh out. And guess what? They've answered all those questions. Like they said CCs will have diminishing returns. Okay, that makes me feel comfortable. That's all I need to know. But do they have that mastered and sorted out? I don't know. Maybe not. Like, you can go a lot of different routes, and just going off on a tangent here with CC immunity. Like, you can go with the New World logic where you can just be stun locked, stun chained, and never get control of your character. Steven's addressed this and said that it's not fun when you're the player that doesn't have control of your character. So they're probably not going to allow for that, right? Personally, I think Elder Scrolls Online probably handled it the best. You stun, you get a 7-second immunity CC timer. You know, stuff like that they need to have in place. But as far as like what we see in these monthly live streams, I don't think they need to have combat fully fledged out. I think it's going to be those things that we test. I think that's going to be stuff that we're going to test in Alpha 2. And obviously before Alpha 2 gets here, they're going to have most of this ironed out. Like, we're going to know the combat system before we get our hands on it in Alpha 2. Some things are not going to be final, like we were talking about earlier with are they going to use block for mana, or is we going to get a stamina bar? Stuff like that, I don't think it's, detrimental, as long as they have their goal, their mindset, what they want to accomplish, and let the community know, like, hey, we feel like you should not be able to mount up in the middle of combat. I think people who were mounting up mid-combat in Alpha 1, as long as they have their ideologies presented to the community, I think it will be fine and fair, and I don't think it's too much to worry about pre-Alpha 2, at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo the same sentiment. I do agree. It is very, very important, and that's why these skills, like showing the different archetypes and their skills and abilities, that's going to be valuable to see what the combat will look like with the different skills and abilities out there. But like the feel of a game, we won't know until we test. We won't know what it feels like until we get into Alpha 2, until we get into the beta and like actually experience the game and can actually provide that feedback. And so I completely agree that combat is going to be the most important, and I hope they hit it well, because they haven't covered much of that yet, and that's the thing that I'm most excited about them to cover. So I'm just nice. waiting for those days.
Yeah, because I think we all agree combat is the make or break of a game. So we are worried. We're worried in a good sense, I should say. I don't even know if worried is the right word, but it's a concern. It's something that is important, I guess is the thing to say. It has value. But yeah, a bad combat system, like, you can give me an MMO with infinite amount of content that I haven't played. Like Else and I played Arcade last week. I probably logged in twice. I liked the game. It's cool. Was it my favorite kind of combat? Not really. It wasn't, but I enjoyed the game. And I know, me coming to the game just like there's so much content for me to do. But Am I gonna like the PvP in Arcade? I don't know. Guild Wars 2, my Guild Wars 2 experience is probably the best thing. Like, I like Guild Wars 2 combat. I really like Guild Wars 2 combat. I didn't like the PvP per se. I felt like there was no break free or like stun. It was hard for me to get not locked down in PvP. Like, it's very different than what I'm used to.
Yeah.
But I love Guild Wars 2. I love playing PvE. I loved everything about it. There's so much content I still got left to do, and it's really fun and immersive, and I liked it. But if it wasn't for the combat to keep me playing, I wasn't gonna keep playing. Like, but I like the combat, I like the story, I like the customization, etc., etc. So I was good. Whereas when I played Arcade, which by the way, I'm gonna play the private server. I'm gonna give it another shot here. But anyways, when I played it, I wasn't like really like, it's a good game. I get the combat, but is it like my favorite? No, no.
I have a good question over here from my from my chat. What kind of play styles are you two thinking?
Ooh.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm kind of stuck. I went 3 different directions, and I'm not even gonna bring up Summoner. I don't think I'm actually gonna play Summoner, but I'm interested in what they're gonna do with Summoner because I was thinking about it, but obviously we don't know nothing for the most part about Summoner, so I'm not even gonna do that. And plus, I don't think it's gonna be like the thing I stick with, right? So if I had to be like completely logical and like what am I for sure gonna play, I got it narrowed down to 3 things.
Okay.
So first it was tank, because you will always find a group as a tank. The tank is needed, and I like playing a tanky playstyle, but I want to PvP a lot, and I want to be able to do my own damage. I'm typically good at finding the balance between being tanky and doing damage. So the first, and I guess I got 2 archetypes that I want to do. But anyways, the first one, like the one I may want to test, especially because of all the PvE I want to do, is I want to go with the Knight. The Knight is going to be a tank primary archetype and then a fighter secondary. Yes. So you're going to be able to do be a tank, and then you're going to have that fighter. So you're like melee, but you're tanky. And, you build threat via doing damage. So you're going to have your own damage. And I just think it's going to be a really strong and beefy melee spec. I think that one was the Knight. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm not. And then I also considered fighter tank. So, dang, I guess it's 3 of them I got narrowed down. It was 3. Never mind. So it's either tank fighter, fighter tank, or I'm looking at pure ranger. Depending on cleric secondary augments, I could go, ranger cleric. I don't know how that works yet. But if I had to be like, okay, what are you most likely looking forward to? I don't want to choose. It's either ranger or maybe fighter tank, which I think was a dreadnought actually.
Yeah.
But but if I gotta choose one right now, it's ranger. It's some sort of ranger. That's gonna be my playstyle. I want to do range DPS because I'm in love with that sky barrage ability or whatever it is. I want to be evasive and I want to have range because that's opposite of what I play. But my safe house is gonna be fighter tank. Long story short.
Okay. So I'm just pulling up the archetypes here for on screen for everybody to see. If I had to choose my top 3, I played everything in Elder Scrolls Online. I eventually played everything. I love all the different play styles. I really have fun with all of them. But my favorite type of class is high damage, high mobility. I love threading through fights by the skin of my teeth. Like, my skill level, my ability to maneuver all hinges on whether or not I win or not. And so I really, really enjoy those. So the first thing I'll be looking at is Rogue. And so Rogue will be my first. And I may do like Rogue Ranger, which is Predator. Like, how fucking sick is that name? Yeah. Like, Predator's so sick. And then you have Rogue Fighter, which is Duelist, which is just like, I'm just going to beat the shit out of you. I think those are great. But I'm also not against having like a support style back bar, like something a little bit tankier to where I can support my teammates. So I'm looking at like back bar cleric or back bar like bard. I'm very, very interested in the bard because I've never played a bard before. And the fact that they're changing it and like you could actually be a very effective bard would be awesome. there's some really cool stuff you could potentially do. And so if I can amplify my group by having like backbar bard abilities that I think not a lot of people would consider doing in a game like this because it's never really been good, I think it could be beneficial. So so my top 3 would be like rogue, bard, which is so weird compared to rogue, and then like fighter. And those would be my top 3 like archetypes that I'd be looking at.
A charlatan is a rogue bard.
Yeah. Dude, they got so many good names. You got bard, which is minstrel, and trickster.
I think some people
rogue
are really
bard.
going to choose them from their names. Like, they're just some cool ones. I barely like most of the ranger ones except for Hawkeye, which is a pure ranger, which is what I'd probably lean into. Scout's pretty cool. Ranger rogue. I can see rogue ranger or ranger rogue being a very popular choice. Your, stealth and range is always going to be a good go-to.
Like an ambusher for caravans.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. But I think that's why me and Elsa are going to it's kind of like on New World, like he's evasive, high damage or whatever. And then I'm like tanky with some damage so I can take a bulk of the attention, and then he could just sneak up and just assassinate someone. Boom, burst. Speaking of which, we got to get on some ESO this week. Like, put those together.
Sure.
But yeah, you know what, chat? I'm gonna commit right now, especially because of the PvE aspect. All right, chat, y'all ready? I'm gonna commit right now.
Uh-oh.
I'm gonna go. No. Okay. It's gonna be fighter tank or tank fighter. I think I'm gonna take ranger off my list because I definitely want to do that melee tanky style. So which one has the cooler name? That's how I'm gonna make my decision. Fighter tank is a dreadnought.
Dreadnought's such a good name.
And then tank fighter is a knight. I mean, come on, it's knight.
Yeah. I think, will. Go ahead.
I don't know. I'm not even gonna say, but it's one of those two. It's one of those two.
I will say that I will do a bunch of testing, and so for me, what I end up with is what I think is the most effective and what I have the most fun with. But I do know my playstyle traditionally in games hinges around high damage and mobility, and so rogue is just right there. So cultist, rogue cleric is a cultist. Man, such good stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you can change your secondary. So you just have to figure out what your primary is. And so
exactly.
Rogue might have the best names.
Really think about it. Oh, it definitely does. I think the mage has some good ones, but Rogue is the one. Yeah, Rogue definitely has the coolest names.
Yeah, mage does have some good ones.
But yeah, that's kind of where I'm leaning towards. I'm gonna change my mind, but I gave you guys my top 3: fighter tank, tank fighter, or some sort of ranger. Fighter cleric, especially if I can get some healing on a melee build. What is that? Fighter cleric is a high sword. And cleric fighter is a Templar. Of course. So those are some more options. But yeah, I'm stuck between those 3: fighter, tank, or a ranger, something like that.
I mean, fighter rogue is Shadow Blade, which is kind of like a Knight Blade.
Yeah, brawler blade.
Yep.
Yeah. A cleric summoner is a shaman. Yeah, there's just some cool names. But a rogue fighter is a duelist. Come on. Honestly, that may be the strongest 1v1 spec, though. To be fair,
you would think so, yeah.
But all right, we're gonna end it here. How long are we in? How long have we been going?
2 hours
2:24.
Yeah.
All right. This was a good one. Thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you, Elsa's chat. Thank you, my chat. Thank you, everybody that came by. Donations, likes, subs. Really appreciate you guys sitting in Ashes of Creation waiting room with us. I really appreciate it. Look for a lot of videos just to come out of today's discussions. So make sure you guys subscribe, got those notification bells on. Else, you got anything you want to read or add before we head out?
No. I do know that we will be back at this again next week because that'll be after the cleric reveal in its entirety. And so we'll have the entire weekend for people to melt down and provide their takes. And so we'll have lots of opinions then. And so, yeah, next Tuesday, barring, anything that happens to us, we should be back here discussing it. So
Sweet. Yeah, that's gonna be a good one. I don't know if
I'm
I'm gonna
excited.
do a. I do have work. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do a live stream, like live reaction, watch it with you guys. But regardless, either way, I'll probably have a video out later that day or the following day once I've really absorbed it. Um,
I
and I'm sure else will cover it probably as well.
I might live stream it now that I'm quarantined. So I have
Oh
nothing else
yeah.
better.
Oh, you're open.
I have nothing else better to do right now. So
But I'll be sneaking off at work just to watch you watch it. Really like the stream. Great discussion. Yes, dude. You know what? I'm gonna start the first Ashes of Creation beef. The first I want to do a video just out of that one take. That was so blasphemous. Like just maybe just clip our discussion, but that was a blasphemous thing about the Kickstarter thing. That was actually crazy to me. That
oh,
was a good find by you.
we should do a quick shout out to Zillin, by the way. I
Oh
almost
yes,
forgot.
yes, Zillin. So little backstory. So me and Else messaged me. He's like, dude, because this is just our second episode of Voices of Verra. Else said, dude, we gotta think. What was that original name? You said be nice or else.
Yeah. So I went like full dad meme mode trying to come up with like a podcast name, and I was like, dude, be nice or else. And so like we have different takes. So you can have my take or you can have his take, but yeah, then the pun is, be nice or else. And then Nice is like, dude, how about just nice or else? And I was like, that sounds good. But then like if we do interviews with other people, then we're restricting it, and it's not going to be just us for this podcast. And yeah, so Nice is like, hey man, how about Voices of Verra? And I was like, cool, that works for me. And yeah, you want to go on at this point?
So my thing is, I love alliteration. I think when you title something, if you can have alliteration, and if you don't know what that means, that's just like, words after each other that have like common letters. It don't have to be right after, but alliteration. You guys know what that means. So my goal was to find alliteration. I was like, all right. So I tried to find something with P for podcast, and I was like, what in Ashes of Creation starts with the P? I was like, something podcast. I was like, nothing starts with a P. I literally couldn't think of a P word associated. And then I was like, okay, caravan, maybe because oh, get on the caravan, join the stream. So I was like, okay, what talking word is close to caravan? I was like, caravan chat. I was like, that one's okay, but that's kind of it's so effort. It doesn't seem like a lot of effort. I was like, caravan chat, and then I was like, Voices and Verra, and it was so brilliant to me. I was like, Voices of Verra, and I was like, else, no, dude, I got it, Voices of Verra. And he was like, yes, and that's what we he said, nice or else is fired though. I was like, Voices of Verra, that's it. He's like, yes, and then so I changed the first stream title to that, and then I was like, I wonder, so I changed my stream title, and then I googled Voices of Verra to see if it showed my stream, like if someone was to Google the podcast. And Zillin, another content creator who we'll have on one of these episodes, turns out he did a series with that same title.
2 years ago.
2 years ago. Like, it was short-lived. I think he did it with a buddy who doesn't do content or follow Ashes anymore, something like that. I don't know the whole story. But his name was like, as soon as you Googled it, it was right there. I was like, no way. But I thought it was crazy because like I know Zillin, you guys know he did a react video to one of my videos, and me and him been DMing, and I was like, what the hell? What are the chances that of all people, it's actually another content creator that I actually, because I don't talk to too many Ashes of Creation content creators. I was like, what are the chances? So I messaged him like, hey, are you still using this? Like, hey, I came up with this, and great minds think alike. It was literally one of those situations where maybe it's not that unique, but I thought it was unique when I came up with it. But Caravansation, I like that one. That has a it just rolls off the tongue. Caravansation. I like that one low key. But yeah, that's the story behind that. But I messaged him. He said it was completely fine. He said it was like older. He's not using it anymore. They discontinued it. Him and a buddy he used to do it with. So he wanted. I was like, it's all right. I'll do something a little different. I was like, Verra's Voices or something. He's like, no, dude, like go ahead and use it. So, he's like, yeah, please use it. I was like, all right, cool. So that was nice. So we just wanted to. I'm glad Else remembered that. I almost forgot. I meant to do it at the beginning, but got sidetracked.
Yeah, so did I, and then yeah, I forgot also. But yeah, it's really cool of him to lend us the name and everything, and let us use it, and hopefully we can just keep having conversations about the game. So
Nice. But that's gonna be it. We just hit the 2:30 mark. Appreciate you guys once again. Yeah, thank you. See you guys on the next one.
yeah, take it
Peace.
easy, guys. See you on Tuesday.